someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole, or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your flap. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds. And most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth partying with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There's only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more. Get rest! No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Josh Silverberg.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm back. Yes, we are back. The Sports Loudmouths are here.
I'm your host, Errol Marks, and my co-host, Speedy Petey. Yes, and remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday and Thursday at 9 p.m., or you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can download our app by going to iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. What's going on, Speedy? What happened to Tyler Harrison? Is he got his panties up in a bunch?
Yeah, I don't know. He was supposed to come again, but not. He said something came up, so we're hoping to get him on tomorrow for the pre-recording of the Weekend Crunch, airing on Saturday from 7
Of course,
p.m.
it's
to 9
an
p.m.
FM dial, so he decides that he can make whatever show he wants to make. It reminds me of somebody on this show, doesn't it, Speedy?
It definitely does, except again with a lot of drastically different opinions. But yeah,
well, drastically different is right. That's for damn sure. Anyways, I am wearing my Joe's Pizzeria shirt. Guys, you can buy them in stores near you. I don't know if you're going to buy them anywhere close to you, but if you live here in Long Island and you want your Joe's Pizzeria, if you actually check out the back, it's actually really, really cool. I'll show you before the show is over. It's a really, really nice t-shirt. A little too big for me. I feel like I'm wearing an oversized bra, but all in all, it's a nice t-shirt, Speedy. So I'm actually excited with the t-shirt. By the way, how are you, Alex Slows? How are you? And by the way, my dad was in town for All-Star break this week. Left today to go back to D.C. Tell your father I'm going to shoot him a call. I miss your dad. I definitely miss your dad, and I've got some information for him on a lot of things that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. So, but Snug the Cat, he's back. Where is Tyler? He's not with us.
But Snug, you'll be happy about something later. One of your other guys coming on later.
Yes, Gerard is joining us a little bit later at 11 p.m. He's going to be talking a little basketball with us and some football. So Gerard, not Mark Kelly, but we're going to have Gerard on our show. So, oh, please. And yes, he says. So, so there you go.
I knew you'd be happy, Snug.
Where is Lyle? I haven't seen Lyle in a long, long time.
We're not talking anything hockey, so he has nothing to argue about.
Well, he likes his baseball, doesn't he? He likes the Nationals.
Yeah. We're gonna start on the newest one. So now he thinks. So now not only does he think that Trey Turner is better than Lindor, now he thinks Trey Turner is better than Tatis.
Oh God, please! I mean, give me a break.
Let's try Lyle.
Lyle has some mental problems or something. I mean, Barzell. I mean, that's it. That's his little. And by the way, Barzell isn't overrated. I just wanted to add that before we get into the show. But we have a great show lined up for you today. Like we said, we're going to have Gerard join us at 11 p.m. We're going to talk a lot of sports with him. We'll talk about the NBA. We'll talk about the NFL. We're going to get into this whole Conor McGregor suing the UFC now because he says that the UFC knew that he had fractures in his leg, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. What kind of excuses is he trying to make? An embarrassment. Well, that's the UFC putting out there and really putting their emblem all over that moron, that Lucky Charm leprechaun. But we'll get into a little bit in just a moment. But we're going to get into the NFC. We're going to go through the NFC and go through where we think some of these teams are going to be going into OTAs and what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses and what they need to do moving forward if they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. We will get into, what else are we getting into, Speedy?
We'll get into the NBA Finals and some NBA offseason rumors, especially with the Knicks now. We'll get into that.
More
kind of
NBA,
Gerard.
More NBA rumors.
We'll get Gerard's take on it too. There's always a new one every day. And the biggest one with the NFL, though, DeShaun Watson now wanting to play for either the Broncos or the Eagles.
And by the way, Richard Sherman is going to be let go. The judge orders him out. There is no bail, so he is not getting charged for domestic violence. So all in all, that's a good sign for Richard Sherman trying to find a job this year. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I would love to hear Richard Sherman's thoughts on committing suicide and hanging himself. I wonder what that's all about, but that's just a whole nother thing. By the way, Lyle got abducted by a Brooklyn brawler. LOL. That's what Alex Slow says. Well, I wouldn't doubt that, Alex. I think he'd be doing a lot of things. Maybe he's got his thumb up his ass or something like that. But he obviously thinks people are overrated, and maybe he likes to play with snakes. I don't know.
Lyle's number one fan has to throw in Trey Turner is as good as Mike Trout. Yeah, okay.
Well,
he wishes he was a 10th of Mike Trout.
I love Lyle, but there's a lot of craziness that comes out of his mouth. And by the way, Josh is in the Bahamas taking pictures with his wonderful wife, saying that my best friend for life. What about me? What about me, Joshua? Okay. I know I'm not much to look at as far as a woman is concerned, but I should be important to you. But all in all, I wasn't invited.
You could grow your hair out.
I'm not growing my hair. Do I look like I'm growing my hair? Look at
I
this.
didn't say you were. I said you could.
Look at this. Look at this muff. I mean, look at it. I got a line in my hair now. I mean, it's a muff. It's definitely a muff.
Muff.
Yeah. I mean,
just don't do that on a kickoff or a punt. You'll be good.
But all in all, I've got a nice piece of hair. By the way, Ben is on, so shout out to Ben. Happy to have all the guys on. Hopefully we get Carl on. We have like I said, we have a great show line for it. We're going to definitely entertain you tonight. It's just me and Speedy for the next 3 hours. I don't know.
2 hours, and then we got Gerard.
Oh, well, it's 3 hours. We have a 3-hour show. So
yes, and one of those hours, Gerard is coming on.
Well, that would make Gerard. Well, Gerard is it's just me and Gerard. You're just a half a man. You know.
All right, fine.
You're like a little boy. I would call you a pencil. And I would say something else, but this is live radio. I don't want to throw myself under the bus.
I know what your next word after pencil is. I've heard it enough.
Well, anyways, I want to get into this Conor McGregor, which we talked about it yesterday, and it just seems like it's going over and over again because now Conor is all over social media. He's complaining that the UFC knew that he had stress fractures in his leg. Okay, now if the UFC knew that he had stress fractures in his leg, why did it not come out before the fight? Now, everybody knows with social media and every single press coverage, the UFC is all about the press. Before the fight, before the weigh-ins, before when they showed up to the stadium, they have their back and forth banter before the weigh-ins. We all know it's all about press with Dana White. Why was it not brought up that he had stress fractures or there was something coming out there was something wrong with his leg? I think Conor McGregor is trying to find a way out of losing that fight. Now, Conor McGregor, again, is one of the greatest fighters of the last, I would say the last 10 years. I would say a top 10 fighter. He really brought new fans, new promotion to the UFC. There's no question he knows how to promote himself. He knows how to sell himself. But he also knows how to embarrass himself as well. And after that fight with Dustin Poirier, his third fight on Saturday night, not only is he a complete embarrassment, he, to me, is a washwoman. And I don't know if anybody knows what a washwoman is. It's a guy or a girl that says things and lies about things just to hear himself talk. And I believe that what Conor McGregor is doing is not only hurting his brand and hurting who he is as a person. I think he's going to put himself in a situation that the UFC is never going to let him fight again under their card. If you're going to sue the UFC and you're going to go after Dana White and ownership on specifically saying that they knew that you had a stress fracture, if that is true, I mean, the UFC could be sued for millions and millions of dollars. And I just don't believe that Dana White actually knew, their doctors actually knew that he had a stress fracture in his leg. So, Speedy, I want you to play the clip. I don't know if anybody didn't hear this clip. It's Conor McGregor explaining, ladies and gentlemen, why he thinks that the UFC screwed him.
I was injured going into the fight. People are asking me, when was the leg broke? At what point did the leg break? Ask Dana White, ask the UFC, ask Dr. Davidson, the head doctor of the UFC. They knew I had a stress fractures in my leg going into that cage. There was debate about pulling the thing out because I was sparring with no shin pads and I kicked the knee a few times. So I had multiple stress fractures in the shin bone above the ankle. And then I have trouble with the ankle anyway, do you know what I mean, throughout the years of fighting all the time. So, and I also was wrapping my ankle. I was wrapping my ankle every training session.
I'm wrapping the ankle.
You know, I even done a lot of training sessions where
leprechaun.
when the ankle was sore, I still wouldn't stop training. I used to just train on my back. And that's how I developed those ground and pound shots from the back. That's why Dustin backed away when he was on top of me. And I was landing the up kicks and the elbows and all. It's a horrible place to be in. When you're against someone like me, you can't land. It takes so much effort to try and land shots from your top position. And while you're trying to do that and you're losing your energy, you're getting lumped over by downward elbows and vicious up kicks. And it was a skill I developed because I had the
skill.
leg.
Yeah. A skill of cheating when you were putting up those up kicks, which obviously Dustin Poirier was saying that he was cheating.
I needed to get treatment on my leg. I needed to get treatment on the ankle.
Treatment on my leg.
I needed to get treatment on the shin bone.
Oh, my shin bone.
I would have never
committed. Oh, get out of here.
Something like this
What a
raunchy
moron.
Again, exactly what I needed. And what I needed was a titanium shin bone. So now I've got a titanium.
Oh, now you need a titanium shin bone.
From the knee to my ankle.
Give me a break.
And the doctor said it's unbreakable.
Oh, it's unbreakable. Oh my God. What a crocky you know what. I can't even listen to that anymore. The excuses coming out of his mouth. What's next? He has a titanium shin. Then he's going to say he's got a brick for an ass. I mean, what does this man need to prove and say to make it seem like he didn't lose that fight? He was embarrassed on Saturday night, okay? It had nothing to do with his shin just completely collapsing. He was losing the fight 10-8. In that first round, he was losing it. And by the way, if you knew you had stress fractures, why were you throwing kicks? I have no idea. Does that make sense? Why would you be throwing kicks if you knew you had stress fractures in your leg? The answer is because he's full of you-know-what. That is crap. If he's trying to sell that to the public and he's trying to prove his point that he didn't lose the fight and he doesn't deserve a loss on his record, it's just absolutely appalling. Why would any fan, and there's a lot of Conor McGregor fans out there. I saw so many people sticking up for Conor, all his fans, get well, Conor. We believe you're going to be a champion again. We believe that you should have won that fight. Let me tell you something. Conor McGregor's career in the UFC is over. It is over. Conor McGregor will never, ever hold a belt in any weight class ever again. And the fact that he comes out and he is now taking shots at the UFC, I'm going to sue the UFC. I'm suing Dana White. How about I just sue Dustin Poirier? Oh, okay? Because supposedly he knew that he had fractures in his leg, and that's why he collapsed and he was laying up kicks. Meanwhile, Dustin Poirier said that when he was throwing those up kicks, the way he was throwing those up kicks were illegal. Illegal! Now this man is coming out and taking shots out of the UFC. And Dana White's going to sit here and probably put this moron back in the octagon, a year from now. It is an embarrassment. He really is. I would love to see him fight CM Punk because I think CM Punk could beat him now. Okay? And that's not saying much because CM Punk is a moron who can't fight in the UFC. He got, a seven fight contract with the UFC? How far did that go? I mean, he fought 2 fights and he was done. He retired. He's back in wrestling. What a waste of space, too.
Snug says, because Dana White wanted to get paid, cancel that fight and get half the paid?
Dana White made $250 million off the UFC sale. What was it, 4 years ago?
He said, cancel the fight and just get half the pay-per-view money. Conor should just sit back and enjoy the payday. Snug says, I would love to see the B fight Conor McGregor on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Alex says, I think the reason Conor McGregor lost is he went in and he shouldn't have gone in and was hurt to begin with. That fight should have been pulled. Carl says, sounds like Conor McGregor isn't giving any credit to the other guy. Alex says, to be honest, now I think Jake Paul might beat him in boxing, and that's sad. Snug says, you try to pass that kind of game day, that kind of payday, straight cash homie. Carl says, maybe Conor hurt his leg when he trashed that bus. Snug says he's building up to the next fight. It's making the haters like Earl get even more fired up.
Haters
might be double the last fight. Alex said at least CM Punk accepted an L in the UFC. Snug says
that's where people are selling.
Snug says Conor is to the UFC what Dak Prescott is to the NFL, what Trey Turner is to baseball, the GOAT. And Carl says NHL throwing axes in your back, Errol. They're replaying Game 7 of Eastern Conference Finals from last year.
Well, how wonderful. Thank you, Carl. I'm going to pop on the NHL Network because I'm just so amused on what the NHL Network is doing. Okay. To me, and by the way, shout out to Carl, by the way. I love Carl, and he puts a lot of time into watching the shows, and I'm happy he's been a fan of mine for a very, very long time. I love Carl, and he's got good takes, even though some of his takes are a little out there. But I don't know what to say. I don't know how the UFC could sit here and let this man just completely take their emblem, their brand, and rub it in the dirt and sit there and let this man go back into the octagon a year from now and get another title shot. This man does not deserve to fight Dustin Poirier in a year. Dustin Poirier could beat Charles Oliveira in December and become the 155 champion. Okay? Now, why should Dustin Poirier give Conor McGregor a title shot when he's not even ranked in the top 10 in that division anymore? He was going into that fight, I think he was ranked 6th or 7th in the division. And I don't think he should have been that high. The man hasn't fought since the Obama years, okay? I mean, he's been out of the octagon before Dustin Poirier's, both his fights. Conor McGregor hasn't fought for almost 2 years. And he was ranked 7th or 6th. And the first Dustin Poirier fight, I think he was ranked 4th or 3rd in the division. The UFC has been kissing this man's ass. Now, yes, he puts fannies in the seats. Yes, the pay-per-views sell out because Conor McGregor's name is stamped all over it. This man is not a champion anymore. This man doesn't deserve to be a front-end candidate to be a champion in the UFC. All he does is complain and bitch. He talks about his goddamn whiskey. He's talking about this. He's talking about that. Jake Paul, at least, and I'm telling you, I'm not a Jake Paul fan. Okay?
Oh, we know.
I don't like Jake Paul. I'm going to try to get him on this show. I would love to talk to Jake Paul. All right. But he's got to prove to me that he is a likable person because the crap that he's fighting Tyrone Woodley. Now, Tyrone Woodley is probably the best fighter he's ever fought. But being that he's 3-0, when he won his last fight against a wrestler and a guy that just had hip surgery, and he went down making it seem like he won a Stanley Cup, okay? Like he's an all-around champion. It was absolutely appalling and just a joke, okay? But Conor McGregor, I don't think he could beat Jake Paul. I don't think he could beat Tyrone Woodley in a boxing match. Okay? This man, and I don't want to hear about I listen to so many people talk about him and Floyd Mayweather and how he stood with Floyd Mayweather for 11 rounds. Are you kidding me? Floyd could have knocked him out in the first 4 rounds. Do you know how many punches Floyd Mayweather landed and threw in the first 3 rounds of that fight? I think it was like 7 or 8. Okay. Floyd Mayweather, who averages more throwing and counter punches than any fighter in boxing history. Okay. Does anybody believe that Conor McGregor had a chance to win that fight?
Only Skip Bayless, from what I heard.
I mean, to me, it's an absolute joke. And to sit here and listen to this man absolutely take shots at the brand that really put him, he's a multimillionaire because of the UFC. That's the truth. He is a multimillionaire because the UFC put him on.
Snug says, how do you ignore the legion of fans for Conor and the big stacks of cash they bring with them? Carl said, haha, I thought Errol said Tyrone Wheatley. And Snug says, could Trey Turner take out Matt Barzal in a UFC bout?
Probably.
I don't know. Trey Turner is pretty small. I don't know about that.
By the way, Carl says, you said it's 2 years ago, Errol. The UFC was in trouble because of the lack of star draws. No. I'm talking about Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, before the Poirier fight in January, didn't fight for 2 years. He hasn't fought for 2 years. He hasn't fought since Obama was in office. Okay.
That was 2016. I was still in college.
So I think his last, his last big win was in 2016. Okay. That's what it was. I'm sorry. I'll correct myself. But to me, Conor McGregor is making excuse after excuse after excuse. And I don't know what more to say about this man. I think the UFC needs to suspend him indefinitely. He should not ever step into an octagon again. He's embarrassing the brand. And we've seen a lot of fighters over the years. You know, they've said so many things. Look at Jon Jones. Look what Dana White has done to Jon Jones because he speaks out and he says his stuff on social media. Jon Jones hasn't been in the octagon in almost a year and a half, 2 years. He won't even let Jon Jones get a heavyweight fight. He's been training for the last year and a half in the heavyweight divisions to fight for the heavyweight championship. The guy has been the most dominant fighter in the UFC. He's probably the most dominant fighter ever besides Khabib. All right. This man has only lost one fight because of a disqualification. He's beaten so many great fighters. He beat Dawn. Yes, he did steroids, and he admitted to it. He beat Daniel Cormier how many times? How many times did he beat Daniel Cormier, one of the best heavyweight champions of this era in mixed martial arts? Now, by the way, Carl says, what is he saying right now, Speedy?
Right, I'm agreeing with Errol. The reason McGregor is getting these chances is because there is a lack of quality draw talent.
Yep. And the UFC has been trying. They've been going on. I mean, the UFC, Dana White has a show on YouTube. It's not the next Ultimate Fighter. He does something with Matt Serra when they go to different countries and they search for the next big champion or next big fighter that they can sign. How many fighters have they found on that show? None. Okay. Nobody that I could remember that's in the UFC right now ever became anything from those shows. They still have the next Ultimate Fighter. When was the next big fighter that came from the next Ultimate Fighter? When was the last fighter that anybody can remember that became something in the UFC? The answer is, I don't remember. Josh Koscheck? I mean, seriously, there is nobody. Forrest Griffin? That's the problem. They're looking for talent that's not there anymore. Then they're bringing guys like Michael Chandler from Bellator and giving him a title shot. After one fight, he gets a title shot against Charles Oliveira. How does he get a title shot?
Alex asked Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice was terrible. First of all, Kimbo Slice was absolutely terrible, Alex. And by the way, may he rest in peace. By the way, Kimbo. But that's a shame what happened to him. What did Snug say?
Jon Jones and I play roller hockey together on Wednesdays.
I figured.
He's pretty good, and no one ever wants to drop gloves with him for some reason.
How wonderful. Thank you, Snug. How wonderful. I just think it's an embarrassment. And I think that the UFC needs to figure out who they are. What is their identity? Now, Dana White has been on the Jake Asman show quite a few times, and Jake is very close with him because he met him at the Super Bowl, and he became very close. And if you ever go and check out, you can go check out some of his interviews with Dana White. And Dana White says it's all about packing in the stadiums. Okay. Now, he sells out the stadiums without Conor McGregor. Now, the pay-per-views, I wouldn't say that he does. It depends on who's on the card. But now with the UFC, you don't know what's going to be a good fight and what's not going to be a good fight. The Sean O'Malley fight was the best fight on that card. And look, Sean O'Malley, the fighter that he fought, Chris, I forget his last name, that was the best fight on the card. That was fight of the night. And the guy that he fought didn't even know he was fighting Sean O'Malley because the other guy actually he couldn't fight because he had an infection in his body. So that was the fight of the night, and that fight shouldn't have even been on the card. It's an embarrassment. And the UFC is still trying to figure out who their next champion is, who their next big guy. And Sean O'Malley, I believe, is their next big fighter. I really do believe that. He's got a mouth on him. He's from America. He colors his hair. He's got tattoos all over his body. He's a great brawler. He's a great takedown defense. He's a great fighter.
Chris Moutinho?
Yes.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Moutinho.
Moutinho. Okay.
Yes, and Chris was unbelievable. He stood with Sean O'Malley the whole fight. And the fact that Herb Dean called the fight with 30 seconds left in the third round when the fight, all it needed was 30 more seconds, the fight would have been over. An absolutely obnoxious thing that Herb Dean did. And I like Herb Dean. I think he's the best referee in the UFC. to call a fight that a guy stood up with Sean O'Malley, got his butt whipped, and kept going after him and after him and after him. He should have let him 30 seconds. You call the fight. He didn't get knocked down. He was still standing, and you call the fight. That was absolutely disgraceful what Herb Dean did to that.
All right, I just want to ask because I see the picture of him. Does he actually fight in that rainbow hair, Sean O'Malley?
Yeah, Sean O'Malley does. Yes.
Oh, wow. That's something.
Yes, he does. And the guy that he fought, Chris, he had green hair. He looked like the Joker.
Nice.
So, I mean, both guys are tough guys. That was the best fight on the card, and that fight was never even going to happen.
And the most colorful, apparently. Snug says the UFC should steal Brock Lesnar from WWE.
Maybe John Cena. I mean, maybe bring John Cena to the UFC. Maybe that would sell and put fannies in the seats. They brought in Brock Lesnar, CM Punk. Who's the next wrestler he's going to bring in?
Snuggs also says the best ever gate in Vegas was a little over $16 million. Pay-per-views go into the hundreds of millions. Love some Sean O'Malley, and Herb Dean likes the Herb. He's the man.
Speedy, go look at the cards in the last. Look at the Conor McGregor sales from January and the other night, Saturday night. Go look at Conor McGregor's in the sales of the pay-per-views, and go look at the last. I would say before January's Conor McGregor fight. After Conor McGregor's fight. Go look at some of the pay-per-views and bring in the drawings and the numbers for those drawings. I am willing to bet you guys that every Conor McGregor card absolutely outsold any of those cards by at least 50 million. At least 50 million.
I'm trying to find 257. The cost was $69.99 for that, and it brought in. The thing just popped up. 1.4 million from what it looks like.
1.4 million or 104 million?
Oh no, 104 million.
Yes. Okay.
I'm looking at the wrong thing.
104 million. That was the Conor McGregor's January fight.
No, that was 257. I just looked up different.
All right, 257.
Different fight sales. So that would have been what 263 UFC.
Yes. 267, I think it was the last fight.
Well, this one was just 264.
All right, 264. So what is the number for 264? By the way, Bobby Lashley would be great in the UFC. He would be great in the UFC. He's a great wrestler, or a real wrestler, and he's a tough guy, big, strong, powerful, can drop you on your head, can stand up, box. Bobby Lashley would be great. But I just think this is an embarrassment. It really is. And it's shameful that this man is running the mixed martial arts world, saying the things that he said, called out Poirier's wife after the fight while he was sitting on his ass, okay? Pointing to his forehead and pulling the trigger like he's going to kill Dustin Poirier and his wife. If I was Dustin Poirier, I would have pushed out the security and I would have beaten the shit out of fucking Conor McGregor. That's what I would have done. Conor McGregor is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace in the UFC. And the fact that he sits there and talks the crap that he talks, any fan, any young kid, I see Kevin McGinnis wishing him a happy birthday. By the way, shout out to Kevin. And I know he's a big Conor McGregor fan. How could you sit here and be a fan of a guy that's a complete sore loser, a complete bitch, okay? That's what bitches do. Complain and cry that he got screwed. Go ahead, sue the UFC. You're never going to win. What the hell do you think you are? You don't have more money than that organization. What are you worth? $400 million? The UFC's worth billions. What kind of man comes out there and embarrasses himself? And he comes out, he walks out like he's Vince McMahon. He runs the world, and then he gets his butt whipped. He walked out here. He didn't complain about nothing. Now he's complaining? What a obnoxious bitch. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say. And I'll tell Conor McGregor, and Speed is going to make this a clip, and I don't give a crap. And you could call this clip Conor McGregor the bitch, okay? Because I would love for any of his personal fans out there in Ireland to talk to me and say whatever they got to say, like they said years and years ago, trying to threaten my life. Because you know what? I am tired of it. This man doesn't belong in the octagon anymore. This man shouldn't fight again. This man is an obnoxious piece of shit. That's what he is. You haven't found anything yet, Speedy?
No, I keep finding how much they made. I can't find the actual numbers.
How much did Conor McGregor make in this 264?
$3 million, and Dustin Poirier made less, 1.02.
Well, Conor McGregor is going. He's the big name. He's going to make them more money. But Poirier made more money in this fight than he's ever made in any of his fights. Okay. This is why Poirier wanted to fight Conor McGregor. It wasn't about the belt. It was about money. And I understand that you're trying to put food in your, put food in your family's mouths and build your empire. Conor McGregor doesn't need the money. You think Conor McGregor needs $3 million? I mean, he's worth 400.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, by the way, Carl is saying you have to eat dinner with the one Errol, Steph Curry or Conor McGregor. Who are you picking?
Oh,
I would eat dinner with Steph Curry. Because if I sit down and eat dinner with Conor McGregor, I think there would be a fight. I think there would be knives thrown, tables thrown. There'd be a huge fight because I'm not going to sit there and let this man talk me down. I'm not afraid of Conor McGregor. He's 155 pounds. I'm 217 pounds. Okay. I do know mixed martial arts. I have a black belt in judo. I have a black belt in Kempo. I have a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I was a boxer. I am not afraid of Conor McGregor. Okay.
158 million.
That's how much the card made?
Yeah.
158 million.
Yeah.
So I think that if I sat with Conor McGregor, I think a lot of people would love to see me sit down with Conor McGregor because they know what's going to happen. Okay. Steph Curry, I don't hate Steph Curry. I don't like his stupid shimmy and ripping out his mouthpiece and throwing it at people. I don't like any of that. I don't think Steph Curry is one of the top 5 point guards of all time, but I don't hate Steph Curry. I think me and Steph would have a great conversation. I have a lot of respect for Steph Curry as a person. I don't know as a professional athlete, but as a person, he's a good dad, and he's made millions and millions of dollars. You can't hate on somebody that has dominated his sport as far as a 3-point shooter in the NBA. As far as Conor McGregor made his money by opening his damn mouth, talking about people's families, talking about people's wives, kids, parents. Okay, I would love to sit down with Conor McGregor because I'm telling you right now, it wouldn't last 5 minutes. I don't think it would.
Somebody would knock somebody else out.
I don't know if the knock, but there'll be something going on.
Yeah.
Tables will be flying. I don't think it would last that long because I don't like him. I don't think he's a professional person. I don't care what people tell me. He's a good person when you meet him. I couldn't sit there for more than 5 minutes. I know. By the way, when he went to the Barclays Center, he threw that chair through the window. One of the guys that he threw the chair at and broke and the glass went into his eye was a friend of mine.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Damn.
It was a friend of mine.
That's brutal.
Okay. So I have no respect for Conor McGregor.
No,
okay.
No, that you definitely have no reason for it with that. I didn't realize that one of your friends was injured in that. That makes it even worse.
He is a complete bitch, and he was going after Khabib, but which by the way beat him. Okay, but by the way beat him.
Snug says, never forget Conor just made Poirier rich. Would Curry do the shimmy at the table? Carl says
he would never fight me. I am 217 pounds.
Carl asks, did you go to Say Tuha Karate in Ronkonkoma? Alex says, I would pay to see that. Ben says, Marks versus McGregor would be a great fight. And Snug says, Miller's Ale House would never look the same after the McGregor-Marks dinner.
All right, we have the first caller of the day. Who are we speaking to?
K-Dog.
K-Dog, what's going on, bud?
What's up, man? I had to call and talk about Conor McGregor.
Yeah, let's talk.
Okay, so I think why people dislike McGregor is they know he's got a silver spoon in his mouth, the way UFC's been promoting him, or the way they pushed him. I feel like that's 90% of it. Just the way he's been promoted, the way he's got avoided, like the key fighters coming up, the main event against Dennis Seaver that led him right into an interim title fight against Chad Mendes. That's just a golden path. You got a golden path the whole way up. And I don't blame Dana White for it because they know this dude's got a cash cow. He's got a lot of potential to sell tickets, but don't bullshit me. Don't lie to me. And I think the fans, the fanboys, they're like totally bought in. They think this dude's the best striker in the UFC. And like they really thought this dude was like the best player in the world. They couldn't see that he's got a golden path. He got carefully maneuvered throughout the cards, perfectly placed. I think that's why people are starting to turn on him. They see it now. What do you guys think?
First of all, are you a Conor McGregor fan?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So I was hoping that you were saying yes, because that would be something that I would like to hear. But that's okay.
Kevin gave him the nickname Con Man McGregor, which I'm surprised you haven't thought of, to be honest.
Well, he is a con man, that's for sure. I agree with a lot of things that you said, Kev. Here's another reason why I think that Conor McGregor has disrupted what this. Now, he has helped the UFC grow. As far as marketing, the man is a marketing machine. The guy knows how to market his product. No question that he does. His whiskey is what is it? Something 12. I don't drink.
I don't remember. I know
his whiskey's big. His promotion, notorious promotions. He signed Manny Pacquiao when he was trying to find man. The man knows how to promote himself. He knows how to sell himself. And you made some quality points. The UFC has always tried to bring him up, and he's always had a gold spoon in his mouth because Dana White needed somebody to really put the UFC and the brand on their shoulders and sell the brand, especially when the brand was completely falling apart, when GSP retired, when a lot of these big fighters were completely John Jones getting arrested and driving intoxicated and sniffing cocaine. They were trying to find that superstar that was clean, not really getting in trouble. By the way, Conor McGregor was making deals with mafia guys, Irish mafia. People want to kill him. He beat up an old man in a bar over there in Ireland. That was the last, I think, the last fight that he actually probably won. I mean, the man is a complete, appalling, abusive piece of garbage. Okay, that's what he is. And for anybody to sit here and think that this man is a great champion, he's a great fighter, it's a ridiculous statement. Now, was he a great stand-up fighter at one point of his career? Yeah, he had some crazy knockouts. He knocked out Jose Aldo. It was the quickest knockout in UFC history. Great. Jose Aldo is not even a stand-up fighter.
I was going to say, I don't think you like him either.
No, I love Jose Aldo.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I just...
maybe it was Anthony then that didn't like him.
Jose Aldo wasn't healthy when he knocked him out. And honestly, Jose Aldo hasn't been the same fighter since he left the WEC. Okay, he has never been the same fighter. When he went to the UFC, he won a couple of fights. He won the championship. Who did he beat? Cub Swanson? I mean, seriously, that's the problem. That's the problem with the UFC. They take their champions and they put them against garbage. Dustin Poirier. Go look at who Dustin Poirier has beaten in the last 6 years. It's unbelievable. This guy has gone through some of the best fighters. Justin Gaethje. He fought Khabib. He lost against Khabib. The fights that he's lost against some of the best fighters in the world. And look at the fights that he's won. I mean, he beat Conor McGregor not once, but twice, back-to-back times. And if he fights Conor again, he'll beat him again. Conor McGregor doesn't deserve, Kevin. He doesn't deserve to fight in the UFC again. And this whole act of saying that he has fractures in his leg and the UFC knew it, if the UFC knew this, shame on them. But it is shameful that this man, over the last 2 weeks, knowing that he was fighting, would sit there, go do all the press coverage, go to do the weigh-ins, never said anything about his ankle, never said anything about his tibia being that it was fractured. He never said anything. Now all of a sudden, because he lost the fight and he's getting smashed all over social media, not from his fans. Oh, no. His fans are loving him. Oh, Conor, we know you're the champion. We know you're going to come back and beat Poirier. You don't have a chance, buddy. You don't stand a chance, okay? And then you're trying to bring Khabib back from retirement. You think Khabib is going to come out of retirement to beat you again? He's been there, done that. You're a loser, man. But the fact is that he's just trying to find excuses to try to put himself back up there on the leaderboard for the UFC to try to sell in a year to bring him back and try to put fannies in the seats. It's appalling, Kev.
Yeah, I've been saying Conor McGregor was overrated for years now. I forget how long. Just for years I've been saying, this dude, come on, stick him in there with an elite wrestler. Why are they giving him Dennis Seaver? They got to give him Chad Mendes on a week's notice. And then Jose Aldo, like you said, that wasn't the elite Jose Aldo we know. He was coming off a war with Chad Mendes, where he arguably lost, like one of the best fights of the year that year. It was just a complete war. This dude took so much damage throughout his career. He was coming off a long layoff, and they stick him in there with McGregor, and he gets caught in 10 seconds. They want to act like Conor
with a broken rib. With a broken rib, which, by the way, he didn't make any excuses from it. He didn't make any excuses. He brought it up, but he didn't make any excuses when he had a broken rib. Now, did you hear Manny Pacquiao when he fought Floyd Mayweather? And everybody knows that Manny Pacquiao wasn't 100% healthy when he fought Floyd Mayweather. He had I think he had a disc problem, a herniated disc or something like that. He shouldn't have fought Floyd Mayweather when he did. Okay. But he did. He fought Floyd and Floyd beat him. Did you see Manny Pacquiao complain, or it came out through the press that he had a herniated disc after the fact? You never heard it from Manny Pacquiao. He gave all the props to Floyd Mayweather. No, it wasn't a herniated disc. He broke something. He had a broken finger or broken wrist, and he fought Floyd Mayweather or something like that. But nevertheless, you didn't hear any complaints from Pacquiao's team or anything like that. It came through the press. He didn't say, oh, Floyd didn't deserve to win that fight. The fact is he's trying to find any excuse to try to take away what Dustin Poirier was doing to him. That's what was going on.
Looks like a shoulder injury.
It was a shoulder
injury.
Yeah, it was a torn rotator cuff. That's what it was.
Okay.
That's what it was. A torn rotator cuff. And he fought Floyd Mayweather. And he knew about the torn rotator cuff 2 weeks before the fight. And he still fought Floyd Mayweather because he knew that it was going to put fannies in the seats and he was going to make a lot of money, and that there was no way they were going to cancel a fight of that magnitude. Meanwhile, because they were never going to fight again. And they're never going to fight again. And by the way, Manny Pacquiao is still fighting for belts and stuff like that. And Floyd Mayweather was fighting these exhibition fights against Jake Paul or whatever his name is, John Paul or whatever the freak those guys' names is, and makes $100 million anyway, fighting a complete, utter ridiculous fight. So it's just ridiculous. And by the way, from anybody that was complimenting the Paul, what is the
Logan Paul?
Logan, that's who I'm talking about. When he fought Floyd Mayweather.
Okay.
Anybody that thinks that Logan Paul deserves any credit for fighting 8 or 10 rounds against Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition fight. First of all, if anybody watched the fight in the 5th or 6th round, Floyd Mayweather knocked him out. He held him up. Okay. Watch the fight. Okay. The fact that anybody, Skip Bayless and Max Kellerman, saying that Logan Paul deserves all. First of all, Floyd Mayweather abused him in that fight. Floyd Mayweather hasn't fought a real fight in almost 2 years. Okay.
Hold on. Tell me you didn't just say he knocked him out and held him up.
Oh, he did.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Oh, go watch it. I have the clip. Go watch the clip.
I know the clip you're talking about. It's all over the
dude,
internet.
he knocked him out. He was holding him up. He was holding him up, dude. He was holding him up. Go watch it. He caught him. He caught him with a right, and he was out. He held him up. Go watch it, dude. I know boxing. I'm telling you right now.
Floyd isn't going to be able to hold him up.
Floyd is not. He was leaning. He was leaning on Floyd. Go watch it. Go watch it, dude. I'm telling you.
Right.
What are you, a Logan? Tell me you're a Logan Paul fan. Tell me you're a Logan Paul fan.
No, but I know I'm not a Floyd fan, and he certainly didn't knock him out.
Oh, he did, dude. He absolutely did.
He can't knock anybody out. That dude's got a
really
fist.
If Floyd Mayweather's had 50 fights, he has over 20 knockouts. That's not true.
Not later in his career. Those were mostly in the beginning of his career.
But Floyd Mayweather was a power puncher he became a counter puncher and a defensive fighter later in his career, in the middle of part of his career when he was in his 30s. He became the most defensive counter puncher we've ever seen. And that's the dominance of Floyd Mayweather. It wasn't the power punching. You're not going to, everybody knows boxing is all about finesse, technique. Okay. Everybody knows that. And Floyd Mayweather was the king of counterpunching and the technique. He's the only one that's beaten Canelo Alvarez, supposedly. I beg to differ. Triple G beat him both fights.
I was going to say, or did you say Canelo Alvarez cheated or something?
Yeah, well, Triple G beat him both those fights. But on record, the only person that's beat Canelo Alvarez is Floyd Mayweather. He completely destroyed. There was no way anybody or any of the judges were going to give Canelo Alvarez that fight when Floyd was absolutely dominating that fight. Okay. And Canelo makes that excuse still to this day that he was too young to understand. Are you kidding me? You were 24 years old when you lost that fight against Floyd Mayweather. You're not young. You're in the mid prime of your career as a boxer. Okay. Your prime of your career as a boxer is from the age of 23 to 34. That is your prime. Okay. That is your prime of your career. Don't tell me that you were too young to understand. Get the hell out of here. Why don't you talk your Spanish or whatever the hell you talk and stop cheating and eating that beef that you claim that's why you had steroids in you. He claims when they found all that steroids in him that he was eating beef from a truck. Okay. The amount of steroids that they found on his body could have friggin' filled a horse. Okay, how the hell did they get that from a steak? Okay,
I was gonna
ridiculous.
say, there'd have to be some kind of weird, complicated case for that to be true.
Embarrassing, and absolutely embarrassing. He's another joke. And by the way, Jake, if Jake Paul even thinks that he's going to fight Canelo Alvarez in 3 years, what a joke. I mean, if Canelo ever fights him, Canelo will kill him. Okay, it's just it's ridiculous. These Paul boys, they're making millions and millions of dollars for idiots that are going to buy. And by the way, my friend Eric Martinez says, "Oh, he's got legitimate power." Give me a break. Legitimate power? What? Because he throws haymakers? Yeah, he outweighs every single fighter that he fights by 30 pounds. I mean, Logan Paul outweighed Floyd Mayweather by 50 pounds. I mean, and Floyd kicked his ass.
Hold on. When it comes to Jake, though, you got to realize he's only had 3 fights. 3 fights. You look at some of these guys, they got freaking, they fight 20 bums. Like Canelo Alvarez, you couldn't name his first 20 fighters. So for him to go in there in this 4th fight against Tyron Woodley, a UFC champion with legit knockout power, explosive athlete.
Legit knockout power? Tyron Woodley fights like a girl, okay? He fights like a girl. He is a girl. And yes, he's got power. He's not a boxer. I don't want to hear you. Oh, he fought at Buddy McGurk's gym. I know Buddy. He's from Brentwood, Long Island. I fought at his gym. Okay. I don't want to hear from Tyron Woodley. Oh, he fought out of Buddy McGurk since 2008 or 2000. I don't want to hear it. Okay. This guy is not a boxer. He's an all-American wrestler. That's what he is. Tyron Woodley is a great wrestler. And for him to come, oh yeah, that's what he is. He's a wrestler. And yes, he's a 5-time champion. He's one of the greatest welterweights in UFC history. No question that he deserves all the credit. He wasn't a great stand-up fighter. Tyron Woodley is the best fighter Jake Paul's ever fought. Who is Jake Paul beating? Don't tell me Nate. What's his name again?
Nate the Great. Come on.
Nate from the
Robinson.
Nate Robinson. I'm sorry. I forgot his last name. Nate Robinson for the Knicks.
I forgot about that.
Who's never boxed in his life, okay? And then he fights a wrestler that's one of the worst MMA stand-up fighters of all time in Eskrev, okay? There's no way, okay? And yes, Tyron Woodley is going to give him probably the hardest challenge he's ever had. I want to see Jake Paul fight a real boxer that weighs the same amount as him. And if he can stand with him and beat and knock out a real boxer, then we can talk. Let him fight an Andre Ward. Let him fight somebody like that who would punish him, would absolutely bury him and put on a clinic for Jake Paul. And then everybody says, well, he's never fought anybody. Dude, you and your brother hasn't won a fight in a boxing ring. He's fought, 2-3 fights? He's beaten nobody. And he's made millions and millions of dollars because people want to see him fight. And then they give him all the credit in the world because he fought Floyd Mayweather and he stood there for 10 rounds. Floyd let him stand there for 10 rounds. Floyd just wanted to put on a show. He wanted to make his $100 million and he wanted to get out of the ring. It was an embarrassment. This crap that the Paul brothers are doing, how could any thought of boxing could enjoy some garbage like that? And this Woodley fight, this is all it is a sell for stupid fans to go out and buy a pay-per-view and put $50 million in Jake Paul's pocket. But by the way, bought a $100,000 chain of Conor McGregor. What does he call it? And he gave it to Dustin Poirier to sell to raise money for his organization.
McGregor.
Yes. He spent $100,000. There are families starving. This guy buys a chain for $100,000 and then gives it away to Poirier because he's making hand over fist money because of stupid people ordering his pay-per-views of the garbage fights that he fights. It's a joke. It is a joke.
You're making some good points, but I can't lie and say the fights don't intrigue me. Ben Askren fight intrigued me. I legitimately thought Ben Askren could get in there and make it a rough and tumble, kind of dirty fight, wear him down.
Did you know that Ben Askren, he had hip surgery 3 months before that fight? He had a hip replacement. Did you know that Ben Askren barely trained for that fight? Do you know that Ben Askren is the worst stand-up fighter in UFC history?
You're right. I was naive. But now we're
definitely
talking about
naive.
Woodley. Now we're talking about Woodley, though, who has legit knockout power. Knocked out Robbie Lawler. He dropped Wonderboy Thompson, one of the best strikers in the world, karate fighter, kickboxer, world champion.
He dropped
him with the punch.
He dropped him. He didn't beat him by a knockout.
Dropped him, nearly finished him with a knockout.
But he didn't
punch.
knock him out. And by the way, I know Wonder Boy. He trains out of Weidman's gym here in Long Island. I know Wonder Boy. I've met him plenty of times. I can't sit here and honestly can go back and forth with you and say, well, Woodley is a great boxer. He is not a boxer. He is not. That's not his style. That's not the type. He's not. He's a wrestler.
Not a good boxer. He's got a big overhand right. That's about it.
Yeah, his style is not boxing. So, but I know a lot of people want us to get off this topic, but it is very, very interesting when you go back and forth with this particular fight and coming up. And Jake Paul, I'll tell you this: Jake Paul is as great as a promoter as Conor McGregor is with his fights. It's no question. He is a great salesman. He is not a great boxer. He's not a great fighter. It is an absolute joke what this is doing to the boxing world. And for him to say that he wants to fight for a title, that's even more of a joke because he's not going to be good enough.
The boxing world is a joke in itself. They're the ones that created someone like this to come along. If they would fight the best, they fight each other.
No, YouTube created something like this to come along because he's got over 40 million people that follow him, and he's making millions and millions and millions of dollars on YouTube. This man has made his millions off of YouTube subscribers. That's all because of the crap that he's challenging rappers and inviting people to box him in his backyard. It's a joke. It's a joke. He's a pussy. I would love. He's one guy. If I was a big name, and eventually, hopefully, I am. I'm 39 years old, and he's 23, 24 years old. I would fight him for free. I would fight Jake Paul for free. Okay.
Errol's just waiting for the fight where
I would fight him for free. And I am a boxer. I boxed for 8 years, and I was a good boxer. I was an undefeated amateur. I would fight Jake Paul anytime he wants. I'd train for 3 months and I'll get into the ring with him and I'd fight him for 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds, however long he wants to fight, and I will knock him the F out.
So there should be a random there should be a random celebrity fight where Canelo Alvarez stuffs himself with those steak steroid things, but uncomfortably. Conor McGregor has to get drunk on his own whiskey, and Jake Paul has to rap while he's doing it. All three clash together, and nobody wins. That would be Errol's dream fights.
I'll go in a battle royal with him and Conor McGregor. I don't give a crap. We all beat this shit out of each other. Okay? I can't stand both of them. And you want to know something? That selling and talking down to people and making people feel like shit after and to me, it's not funny. And ripping off Floyd Mayweather's hat and running away like a little bitch. I mean, it's not funny. I want Jake Paul on this show. I'm going to do everything I can to get Jake Paul on this show. I want him on this show. I would love to get him on this show because even though he'll sit there and talk, and I'll respect him because I heard he's a really, really nice guy. But don't tell me you're a boxer. Don't tell me you're going to be a champion one day. You don't stand a chance, bud. Who the hell have you beaten? Who have you beaten?
It's a gimmick. It's a gimmick, no doubt. It's a cash grab. But hey, this is my final point before I head out. Conor McGregor, our first topic. Dana White made Conor McGregor. You saw certain fighters Dana White says he promotes. He did it with the Sean O'Malley kid. He did it with Ronda Rousey, and he did it with Conor McGregor. Oh, I don't know what this guy has, but he has it. You know, you can't put your finger on it, but he has it. And they hype him up. They create him. He's a good promoter. So they act like Conor McGregor is just this natural promoter. Yeah, he is good. He's a natural promoter, but
Dana White did not make Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor made Conor McGregor. Dana White knows how to promote somebody after they become the star that they become. Conor McGregor is an Irish big mouth leprechaun that talks. And the fact that he comes here in New York, and there's a lot of Irishmen here in New York that love him. And this is like his home away from home. He has become a superstar worldwide. And now There is nobody that's going to touch him as far as the fight game is concerned, because there's so many. There are more Irish people that live here in all of the United States than any other nationality. There are more Irish people that live here in the United States than anybody. The Italians, the Polish, all the Russians. There are more Irish people that live here. So he has a ton of fans, and he has become a superstar. And Dana White knows how to sell, and he knows how to market people that have marketed themselves very, very well when he became the talk of the town for the UFC. So it wasn't Dana White that built Conor McGregor. Sean O'Malley is Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley isn't a big star yet, but he will be, because he is a big mouth American that colors his hair. He has tattoos all over, and all the crazy stuff that comes out of his mouth too. His YouTube channel, his Twitch channel, everybody is following him. It's to me, it's all a bunch of toilet paper. That's what it is.
Snug says, I heard he beat an old bar with a man once, I think referencing to McGregor. He also says Floyd Money Mayweather and Conor McGregor should open a sport marketing agency. They are both brilliant. Alex says that fight was rigged and Floyd needed to keep the fight going. Alex also says they're all schmucks, but Jake Paul is the biggest a swear word stain of them all. Alex said, ask Josh. He knows I hate Jake with a passion. Carl says we need to get Speedy on the show Love Island.
Oh, that would be perfect. Thank you, Carl.
And then Alex
game.
said, give me toilet
Great
paper
show.
with Jake Paul's face on it. I would wipe my ass with that.
I agree with Alex in every single thing that he stated. I think Jake Paul, he knows how to sell himself. He's not a boxer, nor will he ever be. But I'll tell you this, he knows how to make money. He's making millions and millions of dollars off of stupid people, stupid kids that want to say, Mommy, I want you to order a $69.99 exhibition fight with Jake Paul. I love that guy. Give me a break.
Oh, man. Conor McGregor.
Yeah,
He's done.
I like that.
He was a fraud.
Yeah.
Errol's going to call him that from now on, Kevin. So, yeah, you gave him an influence.
I like that. Thank you, Kev.
You know, you make a good point, though, how many Irish Americans there are. That's the largest demographic. And I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. So, but I'll leave you guys to it next time I call.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you for calling. Keep listening, Kev. Kevin from Chicago, Illinois. Nice kid. I love Kevin when he calls up the show. Made some good points, quality points.
And gave you a new nickname.
Con-Man McGregor. Perfect.
Honestly, I'm surprised with all these years that you've had your issues with Conor McGregor. I'm surprised that nickname never came up at all.
Well, he's a con artist, that's for sure. Why don't we go to a quick one commercial break? When we come back, Speedy, what do you want to get into? The NFC?
NFC sounds good to me.
Let's get into some football conversation. And by the way, Richard Sherman is not going to have any felony charges. The judge decides to throw it out. I'm going to tell you why. This absolutely helps him move forward, and he will get a contract with a team this coming season. So when we come back, we'll get into Richard Sherman and the NFC East, West, North, South, Central, whatever you want to get into. We will get into that when we come back here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
are back. Yes, there is no Joshua, a.k.a. McGillis Silverberg. There's no Tyler Mothball Harrison. No, we got the great Speedy Petey and yours truly, Errol Marks, for the Sports Loudmouths. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download the app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android. Smack me, baby. Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Woo! That's a little Ric Flair, baby. Yes, Alex, a little Ric Flair, whatever. Anyways, before we get into, do you have some music, by the way?
I do.
Good, awesome. Before we get into the NFC, I will say this. Richard Sherman was released on his own recognizance today. No bail money. There will be no felony charges, 4 misdemeanor charges, which will be waived when he goes to court. There's no way he's going to get any misdemeanor charges. What really scares me, and I don't know if he's ever going to get a job moving forward because of this story. I believe he will, because Richard Sherman is a smart guy. I'm sure he's going to talk to the press. He has a podcast. I'd like to hear the whole story on why he wanted to hang himself. Why was he drinking? Why did he abandon his car? Why did he try to kick down his own door? I'd like to know all these stories and thoughts on what was coming. Where did this all start? On why this happened? But all in all, he's going to have, right now he's up for 4 misdemeanors. He's going to have no misdemeanors. So he's going to get off on this. I just want to know the whole story and behind all of it. Have you heard anything, Speedy? Has anything come up on your feed on has he spoken? As Richard?
I don't think he's spoken yet. No, everything I heard is what you were telling me yesterday with the drinking and the thoughts of hanging himself. A lot of it was very, very, very sad. Yeah. Again, more details will come out because, again, remember the initial thing was he was thought of as the bad guy doing all the burglary.
Why would he steal from his own house?
Right. Yeah. Like initially that was the way the media was leaning initially, but now it seems like they're because of those negative thoughts. Now they're kind of sympathizing for him more. So therefore, I don't know if they have enough details on it yet. From what I heard, I doubt Sherman would have been speaking at that point yet. I would imagine.
Why would anybody be stealing from his own house? Okay, yeah. He's burglarizing his own house. And felony, and why was he getting domestic violence felony charges? He never put his hands on his woman. She even came out and said that he never touched his kids. Who did he put his hands on?
Right.
So where was the domestic violence? So why was he arrested? That's what I want to know. So it's and obviously the Washington laws over there, he had to be held overnight into the next day because of felony charges, and the judge has to let him go. I just think this story, there's a lot more to this story, and I'd like to know what is behind it. By the way, Carl says, I thought it was an attempt burglary on his in-laws' house. No, it was his in-laws were at his house. Okay, it was his wife and his kids were at, and his in-laws were at the house when that was happening. So, whatever. It's a crazy story. Anyways, I want to get into the NFC. We talked about the AFC, and I think I'll let you go first, Speedy. Let's go into the NFC West first, because everybody keeps saying is the best division in all of football.
Yeah, I'll start with the 49ers. I think the 49ers, they're one of the most talented teams in the league still. Again, the injuries are definitely concerning, and then quarterback situation. Is it Jimmy G? Is it Trey Lance that's going to come in later on in the season and take over? There's a lot of definitely a lot of issues. The running game should be fine. I know they've lost different running backs over the year. I think Matt Breida was the most recent to go to Buffalo, if I remember correctly. So they're now working with that. They drafted Trey Sermon. So they're definitely a new backfield, but I'm not worried about that as much when it comes to Kyle Shanahan and that system with the running game. They get George Kittle back, which is huge, not only for their receiving, but also for their offensive line.
If he can stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy. This is his first injury, though. We'll see if it becomes a real thing. But again, you're right, Errol.
He's been fighting injury every single year of his career.
It's a tight end. It's a tight end position that has been very injury prone for a lot of top tight ends that we've seen over the years. So that's definitely a big concern. Defensively, they're still good, but again, how much better did they get? I'm not really sure.
They also lost Robert Saleh.
And yes, that's the big thing, losing Robert Saleh and losing Richard Sherman too right now. And they're probably not going to get him back unless something happens with whatever this is going on with him. I still don't know if he's going to be able to play this year.
I think you need to spank him.
I'm not going to spank him.
I think it would be good.
But again, if they stay healthy, they're definitely a contender for sure. Whether they win the division or not is another question, because the Cardinals and the Rams are still tough. But the 49ers are definitely a playoff team.
You sure you don't want to spank him?
I'm sure I don't want to spank him. Yes.
All right. I think it would be good for you.
Of course you do. As for the Seahawks, again, whether Russell Wilson plays or not, it's a big question. He says he wants to play now all of a sudden, but there was still the trade rumor swirling around. What's his relationship like with Pete Carroll is a big question. The running game is a big question. Chris Carson's always hurt. Rashad Penny's always hurt. Who's that other guy that's going to step in? They've got plenty with the receivers. They're fine in that area. Offensive line improved a little bit last year, but still is nothing special. Defensively, they got linebackers. They don't have much else. Any interior defensive linemen. They don't have much else other than that. They
don't have much else.
They brought back Carlos Dunlap, hoping he could be the second half spark that he was last year for the Seahawks defensive line. But they don't have much on that defense. Carl, to answer your question, we're not doing win totals and records.
Well, why don't
right
you
now.
I'll let you do that.
I would aim under for that right now, just because I don't know with the injuries and the quarterback situation. I feel like they're going to still be a little under. I think they're more in the 9-10, something like that range. But yeah, the Seahawks I think are a little troubling. They'll still win wacky ways. They'll still win at home, but I don't see much else. The Rams, we've argued about the Rams a lot with the Matthew Stafford trade, how much impact it ended up making a difference. But I really like the move. I like the fit in that system, and I like the skill set that he brings. And he definitely is going to make those receivers with a little more expansive. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are more of short route type receivers. I think Stafford will help them be a lot more in terms of intermediate. They get Cam Akers hopefully healthy for another full season, which I think they could be featuring him a lot more. Offensive line is okay. Andrew Whitworth, again, coming off an injury too. That's going to make it hard for them. But a lot of their young guys did play well last year, and that defense is still very good. But no Brandon Staley this year. He becomes the head coach of the Chargers. Can they quick fix the defense the second year in a row will be a big question for them. And then there's Arizona, probably the most improved team in this division for sure. They bring in a lot of help on that defense. Now there's rumors that they could be in the market. If Miami can't sign him, they could be in the market for trading for Xavier Howard, which would be very interesting to help out that secondary. That'd be a huge boost for a lot of young
Arizona's not getting Howard.
I don't think he's going to get traded either. I think Miami will end up signing him eventually. But
if they get Howard, they're unstoppable.
Oh, they're loaded. Yeah, they're loaded with already a great linebacking core with Simmons. They drafted Jeff's Hall of Famer, Zaven Collins already. Jeff's already got the ticket for him. They still got Devondre Campbell and Jordan Hicks if they stay healthy. They get Chandler Jones back. And the offensive line did improve last year, so that's a big sign helping out Kyler Murray. How good Kyler Murray will come back for the shoulder injury, I think he'll be fine. The only question with the Cardinals is really their running backs, because Chase Edmonds was really only a pass-catching type, smaller type runner, and James Connors, they signed him, but he never stays healthy, so how much can you trust that? So that's really, if there's one weakness with the Cardinals, that's really the only one.
The OTAs are so very important because I want to see what Seattle's going to do with the whole Russell Wilson thing. Coming to OTAs, he didn't really show up to mandatory workouts. Now he's going to be mandatory. He's got to go into practice and all that other stuff. I think there's a lot of deficiencies with this Seattle Seahawks team. Their secondary, they lose their top corner this past offseason. He goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So already they're weak in one area. Is Jamal Adams going to show up to OTAs? I don't know. Jamal Adams doesn't have his new contract. You see what the Jets are dealing with, Marcus May. The Jets got 2 first-round draft picks and a 3rd-round draft pick, and they're winning from that trade. I don't know what Seattle's going to do. Who knows? Maybe Seattle trades him in this offseason. I don't know what they're going to do with that. He wants $90 to $100 million. And Seattle, there's just so many deficiencies on that offensive line. Russell Wilson, there was a reason why Russell Wilson wanted to be traded this offseason. He claims he didn't, but I think there's a lot more truth to that story. Pete Carroll and him have not got along, and everybody says him and Pete Carroll are like this. I don't believe that. I think there's a lot more problems going on that more than meets the eye. I think Seattle's going to have a bad year this year. I think there's a lot of deficiencies with this team. They have wide receivers, no question that they do. They got weapons on the outside, but there's just so much you can do offensively, and they don't have any running game. What have they done as far as I'm concerned? Yeah, everybody says they had a 3-headed monster last year. There was so
2
many,
years ago they did, but
yeah, last year they had nothing in certain big, and especially in the playoffs. They couldn't run the ball at all against the Rams.
Nope.
So, and the Rams are just that much better this year. They added Matthew Stafford. If they could stay healthy this year, they got the weapons. They have the outside weapons. They have the running game. They added some running back help this offseason. I think they're going to be very, very dangerous, the Rams. This is their year. If they don't win this year, I think McVay's going to be looking for another job. You traded away that many draft picks. You traded away Jared Goff, who was a first-round draft pick, the number 1 pick in the draft, and then you give up the 2 other first-round draft picks with the Lions. You better be damn sure that Matthew Stafford's going to bring you a Super Bowl or help you get to a Super Bowl because, to me, it's a complete catastrophe. And I'm telling you, Sean McVay is definitely on the hot seat this year. The Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are the studs of the NFC. I think they're going to be very dangerous. I don't like Kingsbury. If Kingsbury doesn't win with this team this year, he will be out. And I don't know what – to me, I think Kyler Murray is one of the most dominant and fantastic quarterbacks I've seen in a very long time. He's smaller than Russell Wilson. He could do everything Russell Wilson could do. I think he's the fastest quarterback in the league. I just think he could do everything. And I think he's got the weapons on the outside with A.J. Green, Hopkins being the best wide receiver in all of football. They added Brown in the draft, so they've got weapons all over the field. And I think their defense is strong. Adding Zaven Collins, and if they bring in somebody of Howard's ability at the corner position, forget about it. This team's going to be unstoppable. I just don't like Kingsbury, so that's the only thing that worries me. I think they can win 11 or 12 games this year in 17. 49ers, it all depends on who the quarterback is. Is it Jimmy Garoppolo? Is it their rookie? Is it this guy? Are they going to make a trade for Aaron Rodgers? Who knows what they're going to do? There's so many deficiencies with this team, as much as everybody thinks there's so many strengths. Their defense, losing Robert Saleh. They lost some defensive talent this offseason. They also lost some offensive line talent, too, as well. They lost running backs. Breda is a really, really good running back. They lose him to Buffalo, I think he goes to.
Yeah, Buffalo.
He goes to Buffalo, which that helps Buffalo out. I think there's just a little bit more deficiencies than anybody thinks, and they're not the strongest team in this division. Everybody says they have the best chance to win out of all the teams that got the top quarterback in this year's draft. I don't know. I think they have a lot of weaknesses. So I think going into OTAs, they got to figure out who they are and what their identity is. The last couple of years, their identity was their defense. This year, I think it's got to start to maneuver their offense now that Robert Saleh is with the Jets. So that's what I think about the NFC West.
All right, let's go to
South.
We'll go to the South. Yeah, good. I pulled up all the rosters. I'm going to do the South. I'll start with the Panthers. I think that the Panthers could definitely be one of the more improved teams. I liked a lot of the young defensive players they have in that front seven. Brian Burns, very underrated player for them last year. One of the best young pass rushers in the league. They lost a lot on the defensive tackle, but they still drafted Derek Brown last year, who had a very good second half to his season. They got Shaq Thompson. They drafted J.C. Horn, who I mentioned was my favorite corner in that draft. They also signed A.J. Boye, which could help them as a veteran leader in that secondary. Your guy, Jeremy Chin, as a rookie, too, did very well. I remember you loved him in that draft, and he was probably outside of Chase Young and Isaiah Simmons. He was probably the next best defensive rookie, and he played very well. So I think this defense still take a step up. And then the big question is, all you Jets fans, Sam Darnold, he goes over there to Carolina now. How will he fit with Matt Rule's offense? And I think definitely the Panthers, while they may not have the improved offensive line over what the Jets had, I mean, some years they did for sure, because the Jets had some putrid offensive lines. They still have a decent offensive line, and Christian McCaffrey.
Not this year, their offensive line strong.
I would say it's serviceable. The receivers are very good, and obviously getting Christian McCaffrey back, who has been the best statistical running back in football the last couple of years, best pass catching back statistically in football, nearly had a 2,100 yard season and was up for an MVP for a while. Obviously Lamar Jackson winning it, but that year, that's going to be the biggest boost. I think the Panthers, I don't know if they're a playoff team quite yet, but they're definitely going to be, they're rising. They're rising. They're going to be very good. As for the Saints, they're kind of falling in the other direction.
Boy, they are.
They're probably still, they might still be a playoff team, but they're not a championship team.
They're not a playoff.
They're not a championship team.
Jameis Winston or any of what they have over there throwing the ball, they give the wrong quarterback the contract. They give the other quarterback. What did they give? What's his name again?
Taysom Hill. Yeah, they gave him $21 million.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, yeah. The thing is, I think they're still good in terms of Sean Payton well coaching that team. They still got Kamara. They still got Thomas. They still have enough talent. They still have a great offensive line. So I still think they're going to be competitive in that sense, because Taysom Hill's still going to be useful for something, I would imagine, even if he's not a quarterback. The defense is what worries me a little more with the Saints, because they lost two pieces of that front seven, with Trey Hendrickson going to the Bengals and Sheldon Rankins is being signed for a bargain with the New York Jets. They lost some pieces on that defensive line. Their secondary is still pretty weak as it is. They got to re-sign Lattimore. That's a big deal for them. They franchise tag Marcus Williams, and Williams is coming off a down year too. So there's definitely a lot of concerns for that defense. So that's really it for the Saints. As for the Falcons, they're rebuilding this year. A lot of young players on that defense.
Whoever thinks the Falcons are going to be a bit of a good team, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, they're not going to be. This is a rebuilding team right now. A lot of young players on that defense. They still got some good defensive players. Deion Jones is phenomenal. Grady Jarrett's one of the best interior linemen in the league, but they don't really have much beyond that. A lot of young rebuilding corners. Isaiah Oliver, AJ Terrell was their first round pick, who was a guy, one of our guests. I forget, one of our guests was hyping him up as being a very good guy because he knew him well. But that's really it. They don't have much beyond that. It's a rebuilding year for that defense.
You like their rookie?
Who?
You like their rookie?
Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I'm just about to get to him. Kyle Pitts is going to be an interesting guy.
I don't like him.
I know you. I know you're a little skeptical of him. I love his versatility. I think that, assuming that the coaches use him right, obviously, he's going to be definitely a weapon for sure in some capacity. Whether he lines up as a receiver, slot receiver, tight end, he could do a lot of different things. Calvin Ridley, I think, will be fine as a number one receiver. The question will be with the running game and the offensive line, though, because that took a big step back last year. But I think Pitts also helps in the blocking end of it. He's not really what we would call an elite blocker, but he definitely could help in terms of giving different looks into the backfield too, whoever these running backs are, whether it's Mike Davis or the kid they drafted last year from Yale. I think the Falcons are definitely a rebuilding team, but I do like the offensive skill players, and I do like Pitts. I think he will be very good in this league. And then the champion Buccaneers, I mean, they didn't change much with their roster. They still have a lot of the same core from last year. I don't know if their overall running game will be as good as it was at the end of the season last year. Ronald Jones has some stretches, but I still don't love him as an overall back. Leonard Fournette, can he stay healthy, will be a big question. And the offensive line definitely had some overperformers last year. They're still
Jones is gone, by the way. Julio Jones is gone, Ben.
Yeah. So the Buccaneers have a lot of strengths on that offense. They're going to be fine in that area. With the passing attack, I just worry about the running game a little bit. Defense, I think they're still loaded. Their front seven is nasty. They get Vita Vea back, which was he's one of the better young nose tackles in the game. Devin White's growing into a nice young linebacker. Levante David, and that's secondary. That's the biggest thing for them. They got a lot of growth with Winfield, a lot of growth with Carlton Davis. That is only going to get better, even more so this year. So I still like the Buccaneers. Whether they repeat it as a Super Bowl, I'm still not sure, but they're still going to be really good.
Well, I will say this. The Saints don't stand a chance of making the playoffs this year. With Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, we've seen Taysom Hill play, but we're not even getting into what that, and we'll go into that as the OTA start. But I think going into OTAs, we got to figure out who the starting quarterback is. Is it Taysom Hill? Is it Jameis Winston? It can't be both. It couldn't be one or the other. It can't be this guy in the first two quarters and this guy in the last two quarters. They have to find their starting quarterback. As far as Alvin Kamara is going to play well no matter what. The offensive line has always been strong. It'll still be strong. They still have Peyton there. But the problem is Drew Brees is no longer there. They don't have a guy that's going to be able to throw the ball down the field and make the plays. And Michael Thomas doesn't want to be there. We all know that Michael Thomas doesn't want to be there. And with everything that's happened throughout this offseason, no Drew Brees, no situation, I'm very surprised that Michael Thomas wasn't traded. So I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stories that are going to come out with the Saints this offseason when mandatory OTAs start. I'm going to be very interested to see what this team is all about and who they really are with their identity. The Panthers, it's all about Sam Darnold, Ben. It's all about Sam Darnold. They have to figure out if Sam Darnold is the guy. If he isn't, they got to go back into the draft next year and figure that out. They lost the second-round draft pick in 2022. They also lost a fourth-round pick in 2022. So they better damn well believe that Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the future, or they just gave up two very important picks moving on to next year, which is going to definitely help the New York Jets after drafting Zach Wilson. But I think it's all about Sam. Christian McCaffrey needs to stay healthy. He's one of the most dominant running backs in the league. I want to see how healthy he is going into OTAs. He looks really, really big and really, really strong. I always thought that Christian McCaffrey was on something. Steroids, human growth hormones. He's on something. This guy is built like a tank, the size that he is. And also the wide receiving core. What is going on with Mr. Pot Hands? I mean, is he staying there? Is he going to show up to OTAs? Who knows? There was so much going on this offseason. He didn't show up to mandatory, non-mandatory OTAs or practices. I want to see him actually get on the field and show what he did last year. He was, to me, a Pro Bowl player last year, and they've got some weapons. This team could be explosive. This team has a decent offensive line. Not a great offensive line, a decent offensive line. They got to protect Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold holds the ball too long when he gets into trouble. So, finally, Sam Darnold has a running back that actually can run the ball. Mm-hmm. So, and the defense, they need to get pass rushers. They have none. Their secondary is better this year for the secondary help that they added in the draft and in free agency, but I still think they need to add some pass rushers. They don't have any. So that's just my opinion with them. The Falcons, give me a break. This team is horrible. They added a new coach. Ryan's almost on his way out. There's no more Julio Jones. He's with Tennessee. Really is going to be their number one guy. I don't like Kyle Pitts. I would have held on to a guy like Julio Jones still. If you thought that you had any chance in that division, which you did, because the only big team and more dominant team in that division is the Buccaneers. Everybody else, it could go either way. I think this team is going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's how bad I think the Falcons are going to be. And as far as the Buccaneers are concerned, this team, if they stay healthy, they should win the division hands down. They shouldn't even have a hard time winning this division. They're going to win 12 games out of the 17 games. I just think they're that. I think they're that good. Leonard Fournette, 100% healthy. They're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to have power. They're going to be able to run with speed on the outside. They have the wide receiving core. They're a second year with Gronkowski with a full off season. I think this team is going to be explosive. I think Tom Brady is going to be explosive. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to be fun to watch in the regular season. So that's my opinion going into obviously OTAs and preseason with the NFL, with the NFC South. NFC East.
NFC East. I'll start with the Eagles. They're definitely the most polarizing, I think, when it comes to like a lot of new faces. They got a new coach. They got Jalen Hurts now at quarterback after they traded Carson Wentz. They got a lot of new faces on that defense. Their D-line is still very good, one of the better ones in the league when it's healthy. But the rest of their defense is a lot of question marks. They lost a lot of linebackers over the years. They lost Malcolm Jenkins last year, and that really hurt their back end. Darius Slay did not play great in his first year with the Eagles. Had a tough time fitting into that Jim Schwartz defense. Now Jim Schwartz is gone too, so that's going to be a big shift. Just a lot of new places, a lot of new things at once on that Eagles team. But they do get Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson back on their offensive line, which is going to help out a lot. It's going to help out that running game. I think it'll be a lot better. They drafted Kenneth Gainwell in the 4th round, who a lot of people like out of Memphis. And Miles Sanders, I think, should bounce back a little bit. So I don't think this team will be great, anything special. A lot of new pieces at once, and that usually is hard to do right away. The Cowboys, I think we've really said this all the time. Their defense is horrible. They have linebackers, and that's pretty much it. DeMarcus Lawrence.
They got a lot of linebackers.
DeMarcus Lawrence is a speed rusher that had a lot of trouble when he was double teamed last year, and that's a big issue when they don't have much else up front when it comes to defensive tackles. And again, a new defensive scheme with Dan Quinn. He made a lot of these guys better on the interior defensive line, so they'll have to hope that maybe it'll ends up working, but that's not going to help. And that secondary is brutally bad. Offensively, we know they're loaded with the receivers. How well will Ezekiel Elliott play is a big question, because we've said many times he had a rough year and really doesn't fit that
He'll
system.
have a rough year this year.
I can see it again. It can't be. I don't think it could be any worse than last year, but again, it still is not going to be good. And how good will Dak Prescott come back off that injury, especially with the mobility, throwing on the run ability will be a question. So the Cowboys could win some shootouts, but I don't see much else other than that.
I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year.
The Giants, again, their strengths and weaknesses are very similar to what they were last year. They got a lot in that secondary, plus they get McKinney out for a full season. They got good corners. Now signing Adoree Jackson, even though I wouldn't
remember I
money.
say this. I think this is going to, out of all the NFC divisions, this is going to be one of the best divisions in all of the NFC.
Can't be any worse than it was last year.
Because all these teams have easy schedules.
Yeah, that's usually the case with the NFCs. They have a couple down years, then they have a year where 2 playoff teams come in, which I don't know if I necessarily see that, but again, they definitely could do that. The Giants, though, they have talent in a lot of different areas. Their interior is very good. Now they bring in Danny Shelton. They still got Leonard Williams. They still got Dexter Lawrence. A lot of good talent in that front. Their secondary is strong. I wouldn't have given Adoree Jackson that contract. I would have spent that money somewhere else, but it's still a good player. Good number 2 corner to go along with Bradbury, who had a Pro Bowl type year last year. Offensive line, though, that's where I worry about with this Giants team. Andrew Thomas played better in the second half of the season as a left tackle, but I still need to see more growth from him, and I still see some more growth from Will Hernandez as a pass blocker, because that's a little concerning if he's only going to be just a run blocker type. Saquon Barkley, him coming back will definitely be a big boost, but again, second injury in a row now. You wonder if it could happen again. I'm still a little worried about that. They brought in Devontae Booker as a flex option, but I really don't know much with that. And the receivers and Daniel Jones, I still have a lot of question marks with that. So I'm a little more skeptical on the Giants, even as a Giants fan, than most. And then Washington, we know they're loaded on defense, and they bring in William Jackson, too, to mount all that, to go along with Kendall Fuller, who had a great year in that secondary. A lot of good young defensive players in that secondary. That was very unexpected. We know their front seven is
Spit it
loaded.
out, Speedy.
And we know their front seven is loaded. But the offense, that'll be a big question mark. Second year for Antonio Gibson. He did well in the second half of the season. Terry McLaurin's been fantastic, but a lot of question marks elsewhere. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, could he do it a full season rather than just the first half?
I think adding Ryan Fitzpatrick this offseason is definitely going to help Washington. Everywhere he goes, his first year is incredible. And they did add some weapons this offseason. I don't know how explosive Washington's going to be, but they needed a quarterback, and I think they have a quarterback. I don't know if he's a superstar quarterback. We know he's not a superstar quarterback, but he can make the plays, and I think they'll be offensively sound. Their defense is going to be very explosive. I think they're going to be even better this year with the young Chase Young. I think they're going to be just fun to watch. They really are. As long as they stay healthy. So I think Washington is going to be on the top of the leaderboard with this NFC East because I think they're the most complete out of all these teams. As far as the Giants are concerned, I think they can win a lot of games this year. I think their schedule works out for them. I think they can surprise a lot of teams. I think Daniel Jones, if he can hold on to the ball and not drop the ball, I think he could be explosive. Saquon Barkley needs to play this year. He needs to start the season. I've heard that he might not even start in OTAs and might miss one game of the preseason. So they got to get Saquon Barkley back because he definitely opens up the field for the wide receivers. They are more explosive this year than they ever have been. They have more than enough weapons to make plays for Daniel Jones. This is a make-or-break year for Daniel Jones and Dave Gettleman. If Daniel Jones is going to prove that he could be a quarterback in this league, not an elite quarterback, but a good, reliable quarterback, a top 10 quarterback in his league, a second-tier quarterback, he's going to have to prove it this year. They have weapons, and they do have Evan Ingram there, Mr. Pot Hands over there with the Giants. So I think this defense is still going to be very explosive. They brought Leonard Williams back. Ramsey, I think, could have gotten a job this offseason. He decided to stay with the Giants. I think he's got a lot to prove with the Giants, and I think they want to make a run this year. So I think the Giants can win 10 or 11 games this year if everything falls the right way for them. The Cowboys, they're going to be explosive offensively. If Dak Prescott is remotely healthy with the weapons that they have, I don't like Ezekiel Elliott in this offense. I'll tell you again. I think he's not going to be as explosive like the Beef thinks he's going to be because he's lost 10, 15 pounds, and he looks great. That doesn't prove anything. That doesn't make anything, and that doesn't change what offense he's in. He's in Mike McCarthy's offense, which, by the way, no running back ever runs well in those offenses except Eddie Lacy one year, okay? It just doesn't work. He is a West Coast throw-first, accurate throws, and Dak Prescott has to prove that with his leg injury. I think the weapons that they have, CeeDee Lamb's going to be a star this year. He's definitely going to take over. I think they should have traded Amari Cooper this offseason or Gallup and got some defensive help for them. I think they're all full of linebackers. This team is all linebackers and nothing else. They're a secondary. They added Neal. If Lorenzo Neal can stay healthy, he's one of the best safeties in the league. But that's the problem. I don't think the guy can stay healthy. And their corner help, give me a break. This is the worst corner tandem in all of football.
At this rate, Lorenzo Neal as a former fullback would probably be better options than their secondary.
Absolutely. As far as the Eagles are concerned, new coach, same old Eagles. Jalen Hurts as your starting quarterback. You should have kept Carson Wentz. I don't know what the hell the organization was thinking. Hey, they were thinking something stupid, or they're just a dumb organization as a whole. But I don't know what anybody thinks. Now, Devontae Smith, he fell to them. Let's see what he could be as a wide receiver in the league. He's one of the lightest. And Jeff said this, before he was drafted. How many 160-pound wide receivers coming out of the draft ever became anything in the NFL? And the answer is not many. So Devontae Smith is going to have to prove everybody wrong. I think that this team has so many deficiencies. Their offensive line is good, but never is healthy. And they're getting old. And as far as the secondary defensively on this team, give me a break. Last year, they added Slay. Slay completely put up a dud. If he does it again this year, after getting the contract that he does, I don't know what you're going to do. You gave up a lot for a Slay, as talented as a corner as he was a top 4 corner going into last year. He put up a lousy goose egg, and that seems like every corner that goes to this team completely becomes a terrible corner in the league.
Outside of Asante Samuel, he's really the only one.
Everybody that goes there when they're a top corner completely disappears. So I don't know. I don't think they're any good.
I'll give Slay a chance in the second year, but definitely if it doesn't do it a second year, yeah, that's a problem.
I think the Eagles are the worst team in this division.
All right, before we get to the NFC North, just read some of the comments. Ben mentioned Jones is gone, but Ridley Pitts, if he stays, could be big. But
Jones is gone.
Jones is gone, and also that's really all they have, Ben. Sean Payton's in a world of trouble for the 2021 season. Yes, this will test his coaching skills.
I don't believe he's in trouble.
Jalen, no, he's fine, but I'm just saying this is going to be a big test for his coaching skills. Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith could be a good combo.
By the way, that'll be the biggest mistake the Saints ever do. If they,
if they let him go,
as soon as they drop Payton, he's going to be signing with somebody else.
Oh yeah, easily in a heartbeat. Ben says Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith could be a good combo. I like Smith. I'm a little skeptical of Hurts.
If Payton becomes available, you know where he's going. He's going to the Cowboys. So
yeah, that's a scary thought.
Mike McCarthy, sayonara. And I told everybody, and now all of a sudden the Beef is taking everything that I told him. I said Mike McCarthy is not going to last his third year. He's not. They don't make the playoffs this year. He's gone.
Especially if Sean Payton becomes available, yeah. Daniel Jones is still Daniel Jones. Yes, Ben, I know. And Washington football team's D will be really good. All depends on how Fitzpatrick plays. All right, well, I'll start with the Lions in the North. Still not a good team. A lot of bad contracts. Jamie Collins, Trey Flowers, all these expatriates still on the team. And then a lot of interior defensive tackles. They have a lot of good in that area, but not good much else. Jeff Okudah, their third overall pick corner last year. They wanted to be their number one corner. Had a lot of injury issues last year. Definitely is concerning with that secondary that doesn't have much else right now. Their linebackers are nothing special either. Really, all they have is interior defensive linemen, power rushing type guys, and that's really it. As for the offense, they bring in Jared Goff, who's, again, a decent quarterback. He had a down year last year. He's still a decent quarterback. Their running game is nice, though. I do like DeAndre Swift. He was my favorite running back in the draft last year. Had some injury issues, but played very well in the second half of the season. They bring in Jamal Williams as kind of that counter, that pass-catching back. And another guy not to sleep on is Jamar Jefferson, and powerful for his size type running back, 5'10", 212 that they got in the 7th round from Oregon State. I actually think he can make an impact as well, but they don't have much else besides their running backs. Those receivers are god awful. Their number one's Tyrell Williams. That's pretty sad. And TJ Hawkinson, he's essentially their number one receiver. He'll be taking up a lot of the targets, but still not going to be a good passing offense as a team. So that's it for the Lions. For Minnesota, I think they could be definitely improved. Their defense played better in the second half of the season last year. Their pass rush gets Linval Joseph back and Michael Pierce, or not Linval Joseph, Michael Pierce, and they signed Dalvin Tomlinson, another ex-Giant. I thought they overpaid for him, but their interior is definitely better. Danielle Hunter, though, is definitely an interesting one because another guy like DeMarcus Lawrence that is great when he's a complementary part, but he's still more of a speed rusher and had a down year last year because of it. I think he bounces back fine. Eric Kendricks is still a nice linebacker, but and Harrison Smith, but still not much else on that defense. But they did play better than did last year, where they were still serviceable. Their offense is talented. Justin Jefferson had the best rookie year of any non-quarterback, and
I've never seen a wide receiver in his rookie season have the season that he.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. Jeff, I will admit I was wrong on Justin Jefferson. I never expected him to be that good the way he did.
Who did?
Yeah, Adam, and then they still got Adam Thielen.
If Justin Jefferson has another year like that or even better, he's gonna turn out to be one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league.
I know that's a scary thought. And Adam Thielen's still there too. Jefferson might emerge into number 1 though too, because Thielen is definitely still very good, but he is also getting older too. And
he's played like crap the last.
Yeah, I was just about to say his consistency is starting to be a little concerning, and that's not something you want. But if Jefferson can emerge into number 1, it might not be as big of a deal. Their offensive line got better. I think they picked up some nice pieces in the draft. I know John Daigle was saying their draft was very good. And Dalvin Cook, I think talent-wise, when he's healthy, in terms of an all-around talent, not statistically, talent-wise, is the best running back in terms of all he could do. And the problem is, can he stay healthy?
By the way, the Johns passed him up.
Yeah, don't remind me. Don't remind me. All right, so that's really it for the Vikings. As for the Packers, it's a matter of will Aaron Rodgers be there or not, and we both think no, not going to happen. So if he's not there, it's going to be a rebuilding team. Jordan Love is still very raw, and if
raw is not even the answer.
Devontae Adams might not even be there either. So have fun working with those receivers if that's the case. Aaron Jones, you're going to get 300 carries if Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are not there, assuming that the team
overpaid Aaron Jones.
Again, I'm still not convinced he's overpaid, but again, if they don't keep
the guy was pulled in the NFC title game by 2 backups, and they gave him $13.5 million.
All right. I still think he's a good running back, though, as a whole. I think throughout the whole season, yes, he had a rough game. I'll give you that. I still think he's a good running back. Offensive line is okay.
Why would you pay a guy in the big game that kind of money if he didn't show up in the big game?
I just think the Packers have had so many bad running backs. You got to try something at this point, and he's been the most well-rounded.
You got the best quarterback in all of football, and you're pissing him off, and he is not playing this year. Okay.
Well, they weren't pissing him off because of Aaron Jones, though. You can't really blame him
You're
for
going to
that.
you're going to give Aaron Jones $13.5 million. You're negotiating one of the biggest contracts in wide receiving history with Devontae Adams, but you're not going to pay your best player.
Oh no, they should do that too. I'm just saying. I think they would also piss off Aaron Rodgers if they let Aaron Jones do it too, because Aaron Jones also kind of caught passes too. So I think they would also piss him off in that regard. Offensive line, I think they're still good with Green Bay. They get Bakhtiari back after he went down with injury last year. A lot of their young players played very well last year, but again, if the offensive line's not going to be much if they don't have offensive skill players and your starting quarterback to go with it. Defensively, they're good in the secondary, but not much else in the front seven. They need interior guys in the worst way. They cannot stop the run. They've had trouble. They need middle linebacking help big time. So they have a lot of good amount of strengths, but a good amount of weaknesses too for that Packers team. And finally, the Bears, another very interesting one. They draft Justin Fields.
I think they're going to surprise a lot of people.
I can see it too. If Justin Fields plays right away, I don't think he will because Matt Nagy still has his ego strong enough on him. And Carl, I know
there's no way Andy Dalton's winning that job.
The thing is, I can see like exactly what Daigle said. I can see him in week one starting just because of Matt Nagy's ego. And then he realizes, okay, it's why we're losing this game. Let's put Justin Fields in and see what we got. And Justin Fields could create a spark for them. And I think that'll happen. He has not great weapons, but you saw some flashes with Darnell Mooney last year as a rookie wide receiver. Allen Robinson, good number one receiver if he does end up staying on the team.
Great.
Yeah. And David Montgomery played very well in the second half of the season. I think he'll end up doing so again. And the offensive line definitely improved. That defense, great in the front seven. The secondary now concerning losing Kyle Fuller. Now you're trusting a lot of guys that are very young all at once. Yeah, a lot of guys that are very young all at once in that secondary. Jalen Johnson, who I liked out of the draft, is now has to be a number one corner, and that's going to be very hard to come by. Eddie Jackson's been up and down year to year too. So I think the Bears could be interesting, but again, still a lot of holes.
Look at these divisions. The NFC South, horrible. NFC North, two very strong divisions year in and year out, become two of the worst divisions in football. The NFC East, always horrible. The only division in the NFC, who would have thought that the AFC, the way it's stacked, that the AFC has more talent and better teams in the NFC when it's been predominantly NFC dominated throughout the last, I would say, 15 years.
In terms of overall parity, absolutely.
Who would have thought? But anyways, as far as the NFC North, going into OTAs and going into mandatory as the season progresses in the offseason, the Lions are going to be very interesting because this is a new team again. Jared Goff, this team needs to figure out their identity. I don't know if Jared Goff is the future quarterback of this team. He's got a year to prove it, and then next year they're going to be looking for a number one pick or something. Even though this is not going to be a quarterback class, who knows? We don't know what that's going to be, and everybody says, even Jeff says, you just don't know who's going to come out of.
Yeah, guys will emerge this year. It's not going to.
Joe Burrows did, and look how good Joe Burrows is. So I don't think there's anything to talk about the Lions. The Vikings, this is a make or break year for the Lions, the coaching staff. Also, Thielen and Cousins. I really still think that Cousins will eventually end up with San Francisco. I think that's where he fits the best. Why not trade a guy like
Kirk Cousins?
No, not Kirk Cousins to San Francisco for what's his name again?
For Garoppolo?
Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe a pick. I think that would make sense. The Vikings extended his contract about a year ago to 2 years. I don't know what this team is. They have a great player in Justin Jefferson. I think he's going to be a fantastic player. I think he could go down as one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in football. He's fantastic. They have one of the best running backs in the league. They're very explosive. Their offensive line is definitely better. They have one of the best centers in the league. They're going to be fun to watch offensively. Defensively, I don't know what this team is anymore. They fall apart in the second half of the season. They had one of the best secondaries in football. They had a great safety tandem. They have a great corners tandem, and they can't stay healthy. I don't know what this team is defensively, and that's what scares me when they're a defensive-minded team. The Bears are going to be a very surprising team this year. I think Justin Fields is going to be very fun to watch. This defense is as good as any defense is in the league. They have a great secondary. They have a great defense. Front seven is as good as any front seven in football. They can get at you in any way. Their offensive line's horrible. And that's why Justin Fields is going to be running for dear life. And that's why Andy Dalton's not going to last behind that line of scrimmage. They have a decent running game. Allen Robinson's got to stay healthy. I mean, he's their only weapon that they really have. So it's going to be very interesting with Justin Fields and what this team can do. As far as the Packers are concerned, it's all about Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, this team is horrible. This team is not going to win more than 6 games. Okay, I don't care how talented Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones is or any of these teams. They don't have any other wide receivers. They don't have anybody that is notable in the top 100 wide receivers. This is a horrible team without Aaron Rodgers. Why are they giving Aaron Jones $13.5 million? Why are they planning to give Devontae Adams $100 million when your best player doesn't want to be there because he wants to be the highest paid quarterback in all of football, and he makes your team? He is the train. He is the gas. He is the pedal of everything of this team, and you can't find a way to make this guy happy. Disgraceful. The Packers are going to lay up a dud this year. They're going to be the worst team in the division, even worse than the Lions without Aaron Rodgers. Without Aaron Rodgers.
Worse than the Lions.
Yes.
Or as Carl likes to call them, the lie downs.
If
pretty accurate.
If Aaron Rodgers isn't playing for the Packers this year, they are going to be worse than the Lions. And you mark my words on that. That's how bad they're going to be.
All right. Ben says Dalton will start over Fields. Carl says, mad they got rid of Fuller, rightfully so. Carl says, lie downs are the lie downs. Vikings will be solid. Bears ceiling is 11-7. That's 18 games, Carl. So you probably meant.
How are the Packers ceiling 12 games
6.
if Aaron Rodgers isn't there? How are they winning 12 games?
Carl, are you assuming that Aaron Rodgers is going to be there or not? There's a huge difference. That's like a 6-win difference. You're talking about.
That's like an 8-win.
Yeah, you're talking about that. Vikings ceiling is 12 wins. He said Packers ceiling is 12.
They don't win 5. They don't win more than 5 games without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and they're not going to win anything
with Rodgers. He says.
All right, with Rodgers, yes, the ceiling can be 12.
They better pay him.
Yep, they're gonna have to make him happy in some way, which it seems like a lost cause at this point.
Because he's a free agent next year. He could go wherever he wants next year.
Carl, I know you're probably rooting for as a Bears fan for him to be gone as soon as possible or hold out or whatever. But again, it's going to be very hard for them to do anything without Rodgers, and that could be an opening for your Bears if that's the case.
And by the way, if Aaron Rodgers could pick wherever he can go next year, it will be the San Francisco 49ers. I guarantee that. I don't care if the team didn't draft him.
Right.
That's where he's going.
Yeah, they won't have to worry about draft picks at that point.
They won't have to give up anything for him.
Yeah,
there's money.
They just have to worry about the money. They'll make the contracts work. They have a lot of big contracts, but they'll make it work for Aaron Rodgers.
They'll keep the kid on the bench. They'll trade Jimmy Garoppolo, or they let Jimmy Garoppolo go. Right. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't get traded and he's a free agent next year, he is going to San Francisco. I guarantee it. And DeShaun Watson will either go to the Eagles or the Broncos. You could shut the music off now, Speedy.
Yeah, I was waiting for the song to end.
But Speedy, what are your thoughts that DeShaun Watson came out? Well, he didn't come out. His agent and his team came out saying that there are 2 teams that he wants to play for now. One team all of a sudden came out of nowhere, the Eagles and the Broncos. We all know about the Broncos. He wants to play over there in Denver. Denver has an explosive team. They have the defense. They have Denver's just missing a quarterback. If they get a quarterback, Von Miller's coming back this year. This team's going to be fun to watch.
I like the Broncos a lot. If that's the move, I think they're definitely a playoff team with Watson for sure. If they do end up making that move with the arsenal of skill players that they have, again, this is all assuming that Watson wins his case and he's able to play, because obviously that's a big what if. But again, the value is going to be a lot lower than it ever was if you're trying to make a trade for it. And the Broncos, they have a lot of talent on that team. They still maybe need a little more on that defense, but they're pretty set beyond that. They have great balanced talent throughout that team where they can afford to make that kind of trade. Again, they don't have the overwhelming draft capital that the Eagles have with the trade with Miami.
What do you think the Texans are going to ask for, especially with everything that's gone on with DeShaun Watson in the last couple of months? What do you think the value of DeShaun Watson is right now if they were to make the move?
I think it's really at this point maybe only 1 first-round pick, if anything, because it might only be a second at this point, because his value is skyrocketing.
I still think he's worth.
I think he'll probably still get a first, but again, it's going to be that and maybe not much else with the other compensation picks or the players that they want.
Still worth 2 first-round draft picks.
No, he's definitely worth 2 first-round draft picks. I just at this point I don't know if the market is going to be there for it. Remember, the Broncos are not one of those teams that like to gamble with a lot of these off-field issues either.
Gamble with arguably the best quarterback in all.
I'm not saying it from his perspective. I'm saying it from
if they make the trade, they'll sit down with DeShaun Watson and they'll talk to him and make sure that they can watch over him and that he doesn't make any mistakes. I think if you want DeShaun Watson, you're going to have to give up 2 first-round draft picks. Jamal Adams went for 2 first rounds and a third to the Jets. There is no way arguably the best quarterback, a top 5, top 4 quarterback in the league, is going for 1 first-round draft pick.
But
That's it.
At the same time, well, that is maybe the exception to the market rather than
He's
the market.
25 years old.
No. I'm not denying that. I'm saying,
and his contract is affordable.
The Jamal Adams trade, using that as the basis, I think that's more the exception to the market than the actual market. I don't think you'll see another defensive back get for 2 first-round picks, like the way the Jets fleeced the Seahawks the way they did for that. And because of that, I think the Broncos are in an interesting situation where I think they would try to do it at a low point. Philly, again, they have the extra first-round pick they got from Miami, so that could help them a little bit leverage-wise. But again, with a lot of new pieces on that team all at once, do they think they are going to be able to do it right now? I think the Eagles are interesting if they're going to give Jalen Hurts a year, I think, and then if Watson hits free agency, or maybe he doesn't win his case and he ends up being dangled at that point, then the Eagles, I think, will go all in after that, because I think if Jalen Hurts doesn't play well, the Eagles still can't do it in the NFC East. Then they have a big opening for that, where I think they would make that move. The Eagles, you mentioned it, they look like they know what they're doing a lot of the time. Then they look like they don't.
They have another Adam Gase coaching the team. A guy has cuckoo eyes too every time. And the stupid things that he says at his press conferences. Everybody knows the Eagles are my second favorite team. Okay, I grew up a Donovan McNabb fan, and the Jets have been bad every year in and year out. So I needed a team to root for. The Eagles always made the playoffs. But,
yeah, they were pretty sad.
They just could never get over the hump. But we have our second caller of the day, the Beef. What's going on, Beef?
What's up, my friend?
I'm good, man. We were talking about the NFC East. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I heard you saying that, DeShaun Watson, you would get 2 first-round picks for. I don't think you're getting 2 first rounds.
Here's the reason why.
Because hold on a second before you answer, because of all the off-field issues that he has going on right now, I don't think teams are going to be lining up to give him 2 first rounds.
I'm going to tell you why they will. He's 25. He'll be 26 years old next year. Last year, he played for the Texans. They had nobody to throw to. He led the league in yards thrown. He was, I think, 3rd in the league in touchdowns. And he threw how many interceptions? 7, 8 interceptions.
Yeah. Listen, I understand.
He is too talented. And you look at Jamal Adams. You look at all these other quarterbacks. I understand it's off field. What you're going to do is you're going to talk to his agent. You're going to talk to DeShaun Watson, and you're going to make sure that if you make this trade, you're going to make sure that he is going to agree to certain things. What do they call a curfew? He's not going to go out of town doing stupid things. No more of these massage parlors.
But that's if all this shit is not true about him. I mean, you don't know if it is or it isn't.
And by the way, Carl says once season starts, his value will increase. Errol is right. Someone will pony up picks.
Yeah,
I do believe that.
But you think he's going to play this season? I don't know if he's going to play.
He's going to play for, if he gets traded, he can play this season.
I do think that sometime this season he will play.
Yeah.
I think sometime, maybe not the first half.
Not at the beginning.
No,
the first half.
The league might inflict punishment on him, but in terms of him playing, as long as he's traded, he will play for the team he's traded.
And Carl says all charges are civil, so no suspension. So
that's a good sign.
So but what if he sits out the whole year and he doesn't play?
He's only going to do that if he doesn't
he's
get
on
traded.
The Texans.
Right.
If he's on the Texans.
If he's on the Texans and he doesn't play, his value is going to go down.
No, his value won't go down. He's too good, and he's still very young. He's not even in his prime yet. Okay, this guy is as good a quarterback as anybody in the league.
I understand his
don't be surprised if the Cowboys don't think to make it to deal Dak Prescott for DeShaun Watson and a couple of picks. That's how good he is. Yes, he can change your team.
No, listen, I'm not denying his talent. I know the guy's a great quarterback. But I'm just talking about if he sits out a whole year, I mean, how could you give the 2 first rounds for him?
Dude, he's not Aaron Rodgers, who's 37, 38 years old. This man is 25, 26 years old. He's a kid.
I could see a 1 first round.
No, he's getting
right now. Yeah, but what Errol's saying is into the season. No, because remember, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be more progressions with his case too. So unless he completely loses the case and he has to spend time in jail or whatever, then
league will only suspend. This is what Carl says. League will only suspend if charges are felony level.
Right.
They won't open the can of worms for civil cases, at least not yet.
So if those charges are end up being that,
he's going to pay them off. To me, here's the deal.
Right, but the league could still suspend him in that case,
they're not going to. He's going to pay them off. The league's going to leave him alone. What they're going to do is they're going to sit down. Whoever wants to trade for him, they're going to have the opportunity to sit down with DeShaun Watson and his agent, and they're going to make a deal with him. If we're going to make this trade and we're going to give up these valuable picks that could cost us our future, we have to make sure that you're going to stay out of trouble and you're going to do the right thing. And DeShaun Watson's a good man. Everything that we've read about him, he's a good soul. So I'm telling you right now, people will pony. I believe he's going to go for 2 first-round draft picks and maybe a 4th. He's that good. I mean, they were talking about 4 first. I mean, he's going to lose. You're not going to be able to get 4 first-round draft picks from him anymore. No. But you could get 2. And with Jamal Adams getting the Jets getting 2 firsts and a 3rd, I think there are teams that are going to pony up. I wouldn't even be surprised if Zach Wilson doesn't start the season strong, that the Jets might try to make a move for DeShaun Watson. That's how when you get a player of this magnitude that becomes available, that is this good. I told everybody this. Everybody asked me who I think is the most talented quarterback in the NFL. And the answer is, I believe DeShaun Watson is the best overall quarterback in the league. Go look at the team that he played for last year. Go look at the players. Go look at his offensive line, how bad they were. And look at what his numbers were. They were fantastic. He was one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league last year. He should have been up for an MVP last year. He was fantastic.
We all know how good he is, but no one's denying that the talent that he has. But it's just all the off-field issues that he has right now. Is it really worth it?
But again, that's where you have to judge if you're an organization. That's why I think it is.
You wouldn't think that he's worth it, being that he's 25, going to be 26?
No. I'm talking about his talent-wise, but again, his off-field issues, we don't know if it's true, if it's not true.
Well, that's the problem. We're never going to know if it's true because he's going to pay off whoever he needs to pay off.
Yeah, but who's to say he doesn't do this again?
He's not doing it.
No, he won't do it.
He's not going to do this again. This is ruining his career. This is putting a hold on his career.
He never had issues before this.
This will never happen again. Not with him.
We all know this ruined his career, but I just don't know.
Donovan McNabb. Okay. Anybody remember Donovan McNabb? Donovan McNabb was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Sure he was.
He had a lot of problems off the field. Drugs, drinking, all these other things. He got into trouble quite a few times. And the Eagles kind of just waved their head and completely looked past it because it was Donovan McNabb. This guy, DeShaun Watson, is, and I'm a big-time Donovan McNabb fan. I met him at the Super Bowl. Love the guy. Love him. Okay, I followed him in Syracuse. Loved him. This man, DeShaun Watson, is 18 times better than Donovan McNabb. Okay, This guy can change an organization.
No one's denying that.
No, I'm telling you right now, he goes to the Cowboys. You want to talk about Super Bowls? He'll give you a chance to win 3 Super Bowls. Okay, he's that good. Okay, he can change your organization.
No one's denying that, but can you trust him?
Yes, I would trust. I'd absolutely trust him. Absolutely. He's too talented not to.
The only thing you're worrying about, Beav, is if the case gets worse. But odds are it won't. Odds are it won't because it's been very stagnant.
It completely disappeared. Nobody's even talking.
It's very stagnant. Where if it keeps leaking into the season and staying kind of stagnant, it's going to go on longer. And finding more information again, unless it's bad, like Carl was saying, if it becomes a felony or something like that, maybe there's more to it that we didn't realize. That's different. But right now, it looks that way where he's going to play. He's going to hold out for the Texans, obviously, because they don't want to play for the Texans, and he's still going to get traded. Now, right now, it's going to go probably for 1, but like Errol's saying, it could definitely go for 2 in the season because quarterbacks get hurt, quarterback situations don't work out, and who says a team doesn't take a gamble? There's a lot of teams, but look at the NFC East. There's a lot of teams with a lot of questionable quarterback situations. Outside of the Cowboys, every other team does. So any of those teams can make a trade for DeShaun Watson. Anyone in the NFC in general could make a trade for DeShaun Watson. There's a lot of question marks with a lot of these situations.
All right, so let's just say that, I don't know, Deshaun Watson gets traded. He goes to a team, right?
He's getting traded.
Okay. Well, we all know that. So
yes, we do. He's getting traded.
We all know he doesn't want 52. So let's just say he gets traded and goes to a team, right? And then all of a sudden, all this shit that comes out is actually true. Then what?
I think that there's no way a team's going to make a trade unless they get all the information. Right. They're going to. These are first of all, this is $1 billion organization, and this is their future. They're going to give up their future for this man. They're not going to make a trade unless they know for a fact that he's not going to get in trouble and they can move on from this.
No, not that he's not getting in trouble. What if the team trades him and all of a sudden it comes out that this was all true?
I just told you it's not going to happen. They're not going to make the trade until they know for a fact they can move on from this. That's what I'm saying. No team is going to make this trade unless they know that it's done, it's over with, and they can move on from it.
But Beeve, Carl has a question for you. Would you trade Ezekiel Elliott and 2 number 1s for DeShaun Watson?
Absolutely.
Ezekiel Elliott and 2 number 1s.
2 number 1s for DeShaun Watson.
Well, I mean,
yes or no?
What do you do with? I mean, I would do it, but then you still have Dak there.
Yeah, but you could get the picks back for Dak too. So
you would have to get rid of Dak somehow to make.
You could trade him for a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, you could get a first round for Dak easily.
Yeah, but you would also have to make 2 trades then, based off.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously.
How about this? How about this?
Would you do it? Would you do it with DeShaun Watson though?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I will absolutely. I had Dak in that trade too to get Deshaun Watson.
You're not going to trade Dak and Zeke for Deshaun. You're going to have to make
2
first trades.
I think that would be a fair trade. Do you realize how good Deshaun Watson is?
I'm not saying he's. I just said Deshaun Watson.
You were talking about the Cowboys winning 3 Super Bowls in a row. If there's any quarterback that it becomes available this good, that's going to give you a chance to win close to 3 Super Bowls in a row, it would be him.
So then Deshaun Watson would keep his 3 receivers with Gallup.
Yeah. Could you imagine Deshaun Watson throwing to those weapons and how strong and how unbelievable he is inside and outside of the pocket? You're talking about the Cowboys. He would go down as the best quarterback the Cowboys ever had. Okay. That's how good he is. You talk about all the great quarterbacks that came from Dallas. He would be the best. I'm telling you right now. That's how good he is.
No one's denying how good he is.
He's better. And take this to the bank. He's better and more talented than Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, all the quarterbacks in the league. Go look at the players that he played with last year. They were horrible. Horrible. Go look at his numbers. They were unbelievable.
And that was without Hopkins, too.
It was without everybody.
Their best receiver was Brandon Cooks, who's a stick for one, and he's been a product of elite quarterbacks throughout his career.
Brandon Cooks is a number 2 to me. I don't think he's a number 1.
Exactly. That's my point.
I think he's more of a number 3 now.
Yeah.
Well, now, yeah, but he was a 2.
Yeah, it was a number 1. He was 1 at one time.
He was a 2. He was a 2 for most of his career, but again, he was a product of a great quarterback. He played with Drew Brees. He played with Tom Brady. Then he played with the Rams. Jared Goff's not an elite quarterback. There's Sean McVay. That system, and then he plays with DeShaun Watson. I mean, he's a product of elite quarterbacks. Like Errol's saying, he's a fast guy that is a deep threat, and that's really it. He has drop problems. He doesn't break press coverage well.
I would definitely make that trade for Zeke for DeShaun, but then you have to move back. For something else,
obviously, right?
I think if you talk about the Cowboys, and if they can get Deshaun Watson, any team can get Deshaun Watson, even the Jets. And I'll say this again, Zach Wilson. Even though I think Zach Wilson's going to be a fantastic quarterback in this league, if Deshaun Watson becomes available in this all goes away. How could you not think about bringing Deshaun Watson into your organization?
Yeah,
he gives your team. Automatically a Super Bowl contender. He makes you a Super Bowl contender automatically.
Sure he does.
So that's 100%. How good he is. So you can't deny that. And I'm telling you right now, there'll be teams lining up for him. Are you kidding me?
They'll be lining up for him once they know the whole truth about the whole story that's going on.
They're going to be lining up for him. I'm telling you. You're going to have like 8 or 9 teams that are going to love him. Minnesota would be interested in him. The Saints will be interested in him. There's so many teams that'll be interested in landing. That would be
actually the smart move for him to go to be the Saints.
The Saints have to get tally up and give up some players.
The Saints also have to make the money work for that to work.
They got to trade either Kamara or Thomas.
Yeah, they're gonna have. They have a lot of big contracts, so they're gonna have to make the money work.
I don't know if they would trade. They would probably trade.
Got to trade one or the other.
They more than Kamara, probably. I would say.
Yeah, maybe because running backs are a little more expendable, but they're gonna have to trade more than Kamara for the purpose of they need to make the money work. So they're gonna have to trade some defensive players too, or offensive linemen. Like they have a lot of money issues right now.
Yeah, but the way they move Kamara, he's not like a power back. He's more like a wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? So.
I think the Eagles make a lot of sense. Carl's right, and we were talking about it.
Yes,
they make a lot of sense for a guy like Deshaun Watson. You have Smith over there now. You have the weapons. You have a good offensive line, a very good, but it's more of a veteran, old offensive line.
Still went healthy, a top 5 offensive line.
And they're a ready to win now team. They really are. They added some offensive wide receiving weapons this year. They still have, if Slade could actually play well this year, they have a really good defense.
Well,
They got a really good
I-
pass
I-
rush still.
I could actually see him going to the Giants. The Giants would make a good fit for him.
There's no way he'd go to the Giants, and I'll tell you why.
Why
Not
not?
because I'm a Giant hater, because that's not why. I don't think Dave Gettleman will be willing to
fits his
part
offense.
ways with Daniel Jones because he stamped his career and his name to Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones doesn't succeed, Gettleman loses his job. And
I can see that.
And I don't think it's going to happen.
And I don't think Daniel Jones is going to succeed anyway.
I do.
So
I do.
I don't.
I like Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones is going to be very good in this league. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's elite, but I think he could be a second tier type of quarterback. You're talking about
I think-
10 to 15. He's there. He's right there.
I think this might be his last year as a new Giant.
If he doesn't play well with the weapons he has,
yeah, of course.
but I think he is. With the schedule that they have, it's very favorable to the Giants. This is a very easy. The Giants have one of the easiest schedules in the league. They have a very easy schedule.
Well, let's just see how he does it. I don't think he's going to win more than 6 games.
Oh, they're going to win more than that.
I don't think so.
Right now,
They should win more than
the
6.
over
The question,
under.
how much?
The
more,
over
yeah.
under is 8 or 9 for the Giants.
I think the Giants going to be under that. I think Giants going to finish that last. To be honest with you.
No way. No.
It's my
Though
prediction.
if the Eagles don't get a quarterback and they depend on Jalen Hurts all season long, the Eagles are the worst team in that division. They're the worst team in that division.
I think Washington is going to be good. Just because
Washington's winning the division.
Defense.
The Washington's
I don't
winning the division because Ryan Fitzpatrick is there, and Ryan Fitzpatrick every first year, everywhere he goes, he becomes a god. And Ryan Fitzpatrick with the weapons, they have some good weapons over there.
They do, but I don't see Washington winning that. The Cowboys will win that division.
You're a
You
Cowboy
have to
fan.
hope that defense plays
No,
well.
no. I'm not. I just think because
How do you expect the Cowboys to win when they were one of the worst defensive teams in the league?
they have a new defensive coordinator. And
So the defensive coordinator is going to change everything.
Of course, they can change everything.
He
Why
doesn't play
not?
beef. He doesn't play on the field.
I understand that, but I just think he's better than Mike Nolan.
That's not saying much, but
No, it's not saying much.
still,
And-
the
and they-
talent
and
is still
they-
not great, though, Beef.
Yeah, but Dan Quinn was part of that Seattle defense, and he knows good defenses. He knows
That's fine. His scheme is good, no doubt, but the Cowboys' talent level is it's not good at all. They have linebackers. They have linebackers that are good. They have DeMarcus Lawrence, who's fine, but he had a down year last year.
The secondary is horrible.
The secondary is abysmal.
Well, let's see how this guy Neal plays.
That's one guy, man.
That's one guy.
I understand that.
It's one guy.
He still makes them better. Than
Who's
going to
take out the 1 and the 2 out of every single team? Well, what player out there is going to dominate and take out the 1 and the 2 out of any team that they play?
I don't know.
No, exactly. So what are they going to do when they play one of these explosive teams that have like 3 weapons?
Right.
And they have they can score. They can go back and forth and score. Eventually, they're not, and teams are going to figure them out defensively. So what are they going to do?
Let's see how the season plays out.
I don't think
know.
I like the Cow. And everybody heard me. I think the Cowboys could be a wild card team if everything falls together for them. Because I think their offense is good, and I like Dak Prescott. But let's be honest, Ezekiel Elliott is abysmal in this offense. He is.
Just because the NFC is a weak division right now, and I think the Cowboys will come out.
Speedy, what did I just say in the NFC? What do I think about this division?
It'll be improved.
I think this division is going to be one of the best out of the 4 divisions. I think in the NFC, I think this is the second best division in the NFC.
It was a terrible division last year. So what makes you think it's going to get any better?
Because
it's also fluky year to year.
Because everyone. So let's go through the divisions right now. The NFC South, no Drew Brees. The Panthers are
Improved,
rebuilding.
but yeah.
The Falcons are horrible, and the Buccaneers are the Buccaneers. So that division's horrible. Then we go. Then we go to the NFC North. No Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Vikings. Well, let's be honest.
Could be good, but still a lot of questions.
The Lions and the Bears.
So go ahead.
And the Bears. Okay, we don't know what any of these teams are going to be. So that's a horrible division. All right. Now, then you talk, the only division that really stands out is the NFC West. You have the Seahawks, the Rams, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. That's it. That's it. The NFC East is the second best division in all of the NFC. They're a better top half. We always talk about the AFC being top heavy. It's not anymore. The Titans are good. The Colts are good. The Bills are good. The Dolphins are good. The Patriots are good. The Ravens are good. The Browns are good. The Chiefs are good. The Chargers are good. The Broncos could be good.
we all know the AFC is a better,
Now it is.
Right now,
It
yes.
hasn't been that way for the last 15 years.
Yeah, I understand that. Yes.
So that's why I'm saying the NFC East could be the second best division in the NFC. And who would have thought that when you see how abysmal that division was last year? But that's why I think, because of look at the schedule out of all these teams, I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised if the NFC East is the best division in the whole NFC. And they have the most wins out of all the NFC. Go look at the schedules. It's easy for all those teams. It's an easy year for all those teams. I'm telling you, the Giants could win 10 games this year. They can win 10 games. I don't know what you go look at their schedule. It's very winnable. Go look at it. Washington's schedule is easy, and they won the division last year. The Eagles' schedule is easy. The Cowboys' schedule is easy.
Well, I don't trust Jalen Hurts, and I don't trust Daniel Jones. So I don't trust those two.
What makes you hate Daniel Jones so much?
It's not that I don't hate him. I just don't think he's good enough to get the Giants.
What makes him not good? Who did he throw to last year?
I understand.
Darius Slayton, who everybody thought was Odell Beckham Jr.
So Daniel Jones, his biggest problem is protecting the football.
Not last year. Not in the second half. He played well.
He had a lot of problems.
Not in the second half last year. He played well in the second half last year.
But he was known for that. So
that's fine. But he changed his ways. And remember, he had a rookie coach last year. This is the second year with that coach and that whole staff. They have one of the best offensive line coaches in all of football.
I just don't think he is the guy to get the Giants to where they need to be.
Nobody thought Eli Manning was, and he won 2 Super Bowls. What makes Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones has the same coach, same quarterback coach, came from the same Manning pattern, everything. Looks like Eli Manning.
I know he does.
So he even plays like Eli Manning. Okay.
I just don't think I don't think he has the right mechanics, or he's good
really?
enough.
I think he's got just as good at mechanics as Dak Prescott does.
No.
Yeah, oh yes, he does. Dak Prescott. Do you think Dak Prescott's more accurate than Daniel Jones?
Do I think he's more accurate?
Yes. Do you think he's more accurate as a thrower? Yes or no?
As a thrower?
Yes.
I would say Dak Prescott is more accurate right now than when he first started.
If you look at the numbers, he's not.
Oh.
Daniel Jones is more accurate than Dak Prescott. Daniel Jones is faster outside the pocket than Dak Prescott.
I would say Daniel Jones was more accurate when, if you compared their rookie years. Daniel Jones probably more accurate then.
Daniel Jones, and I still like Dak Prescott. Daniel Jones has better technique and better weapons, at his disposal than Dak Prescott does.
I don't think he's strong-minded enough to lead that team.
What makes a strong-minded quarterback? Tell me what makes a strong-minded quarterback. I want to know your opinion to a strong-minded quarterback. Give me one good reason why you think he's not a strong-minded quarterback.
I don't think he's mature enough.
What makes Dak Prescott more mature than him?
I think Prescott has more leadership skills than Daniel Jones.
Well, how do you figure that? How many more years has Dak Prescott been in the league than Daniel Jones?
Was it 2?
3.
3 years.
Okay.
3 years. So you're telling me Dak Prescott, after what we've seen Dak Prescott's done and everything like that, you're going to tell me that Daniel Jones is not he doesn't have the leadership and the skill to do that?
I just think Dak Prescott's a better locker room leader and a better leader in
How do you know that, brother? How do you know that?
It's just my opinion. I'm not saying.
But your opinion, it doesn't approach to vary. Okay. Yeah. To me, Daniel Jones, this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones. But remember, last year was a make or break year for Dak Prescott. And what happened? He broke his leg.
He got a freaking accident that
Carl, where are you going, buddy? Carl, don't leave.
Carl, we got Garrard coming on.
Where are you going, bud?
I just don't see Daniel. I know you like Daniel Jones a lot, and I know there's a lot of Giant fans who don't like him at all. And Giant fans are very funny with their quarterbacks.
Well, We're going to let you go, Beef, but I'm going to tell you this right now. I think Daniel Jones is going to really impress you this year because what I've heard from people that I've been to, that's been to their camps before, a non-mandatory OTA says, not only does he have the leadership skills, he's becoming the quarterback that they thought he was going to be. So
we'll see what happens. I think the Giants will be dead last. So
I'll put money on it. How much you want to bet?
I'm not betting.
I will bet you right now. I will bet you right now.
Doing your bets, I can't.
I will bet you.
I know you would, but Giants will be dead last. Mark my words.
Okay. Thanks, Beef.
You got it. I'll talk to you guys later.
Beef. Wow. Interesting. Why don't we go to a quick break? When we come back, Gerard from out there in Alabama joining us. We're very excited to have him on again. A great analyst, great information here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Setuha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Ooh, I like this, Speedy. My underwears are wet right now, Freddie. This is a penny dropper, Speedy. Good pick, Speedy. Well. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Daryl Mark. My co-host, Speedy, or DJ Speedy, DJ Panty Dropping Speedy. Panty Dropper Speedy?
No.
Well, I hope one day you will be. I mean, you need to meet women, right?
Sure, we'll go with that.
631-965-4990 is the number. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWS on Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I was talking to Mark earlier today, and we were going to get Mark on the show, and then he told me we can get Gerard on the show. Mark couldn't make it, but we were very excited that when we heard that we can get Gerard on the show. So as you guys know, if you don't live in Alabama, Gerard is one of the TV hosts for a sports radio show called Overtime, and he has worked with Mark Everett Kelly on that show. What's going on, Gerard? How are you?
I'm good, boy. How are y'all? This is honestly I loved the last time I was on and got to talk about just kind of a myriad of things, and I want everybody who tuned in that last time to forget about the fact that I picked the Philadelphia 76ers to win the NBA championship. And but no, overall since then everything's been good. How are y'all?
Doing well, man. Obviously, not a great pick with the 76ers, but hope you're doing well besides that, too. I'm doing well, man. Great to have you back on again.
Well, before we get into the NBA playoffs and your thoughts with the NBA playoffs, my question to you is, where does Ben Simmons go?
That was the reason why I thought that Philadelphia could win. And he completely imploded in that series, and I don't think that Philadelphia can keep him. He needs to be with a team that can spread the ball and have shooters that don't clog up the lane. In a lot of ways, even this is a team that I don't really like, I think Golden State might be the spot because Golden State holds the 7th pick and the 14th pick. They got James Wiseman, who's a young big guy. I don't know if they trade him, but they could definitely trade Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins and either one of those two picks, I don't know what all Philadelphia is going to ask for. They're going to ask for a lot, but I think a guy like him being able to pass the ball to Steph, who had an insane year last year, and Clay, who's coming back this year. And we saw what KD did this past year. I think Golden State is the spot. Portland's also another interesting destination. Got Denver, that's I think would be interested. They might have to give up a lot, but I think both he and the MVP Jokic could work together. There's a lot of different spots, but I think Golden State might be the place that we have to, I think, look out for where his skill set serves the team the best. And I think where he can shine and don't have to like worry about rebounds and getting shots and whatnot, because KD, Clay, Draymond, Steph, Draymond, and Clay can handle everything else.
How about a 3-team trade? When you talk about, obviously, you talked about Philadelphia and Portland,
right?
And Golden State. You can actually maneuver certain players. Damian Lillard could go. Maybe Damian Lillard goes to Golden State. Ben Simmons goes to Portland. I mean, there's a lot of things that they can do over there where it makes sense. I think it could be a significant amount of trades this offseason, especially with the Knicks you're hearing. And now you're talking about Damian Lillard on the chopping block because he doesn't want to play for Chauncey Billups because they had a problem over there, I think in 1998 or something. Chauncey, but first of all, Damian Lillard hasn't been in the league since 1998. But for some reason, there was something going on with Chauncey Billups. He didn't want Chauncey Billups to be the coach. So now he wants out of Portland. So I don't know where that's going.
Exactly. And I think that there is some weird synergy going on with Dame right now in Portland. And I don't know how much of this is him trying to finagle his way out of Portland, maybe just trying to do it the nice way. And, hey, I really want this coach. And he says the coach that he wants, mainly because he knows that he can't get that guy. And there's a part of, to me, that Dame is kind of in that Giannis spot, where Giannis was kind of put in this position where he was have to choose, sign this deal with the Bucks, be the Bucks guy, and they'll build around you, or move on otherwise. And I think that there's a part of Dame where he's kind of at that crossroads. Where does Portland now make life comfortable for him? I think that's the biggest thing. I think Ben would do a lot to do that. I think that Philadelphia would not want, hey, what are we getting back for Ben Simmons? Oh, you're getting CJ McCollum and some picks. I don't think that works. I think that they'll want something deeper, and I don't think Portland is going to be willing to deal their franchise, a number 1A player in the league, for Ben Simmons, who is coming off a very, very tough playoff series. I get that it's one of the worst playoff series I've ever seen. When a guy gives up a dunk and passes the ball off, I think, and then his stat line in the fourth quarters alone it's almost embarrassing for a professional. And it will be up to Portland to decide if we're going to give up something. We drafted well, we've developed well with Dame. Are we willing to give back on the return something that's good for us? And the way the NBA markets work right now, these guys, as far as general managers and coaches, they're on these 2 and 3 year leashes. Ben Simmons might work in 3 or 4 years, but the GM knows I don't have 3 years. If we stink in year 2, I'm fired, and I'm watching the team that I built go to the moon. So there's a handful of places where I think it works well for Ben and for the organization. And I think that you have to find the place where it works the fastest. And I don't know if Portland is that place. I think Portland can be that place, but we have too many people protecting their jobs in order to actually make that move.
So this news just came out a couple of days ago with Kawhi Leonard. He was confirmed he had a torn ACL in the playoffs in that Game 4 against the Utah Jazz. Obviously missed the rest of the playoffs. And again, he's somebody that he had a bad injury with the Spurs in that 2017 playoffs, and we thought he was going to come back maybe within like halfway through that season, and did not come back, and then he didn't come back after that, and then obviously ended up getting traded. Now, with that injury situation, also with his potential opt-out situation with the Clippers, how do you see that kind of thing unfolding? And what do you think is like the best case scenario for Kawhi Leonard, and also the best case scenario for the Clippers, even moving him or trying to re-sign it and make it work?
Kawhi is one of the weirdest people in this entire league, mainly because he doesn't talk. You just don't know him. You don't, of all the NBA stars, like him or not, LeBron James, you know him. Like him or not, Steph Curry, you know him. Like him or not, Paul George, you can just go off a myriad of people. You feel like you know that person. Kawhi is this weird individual. You don't feel like you know him. We know that he went to LA to be closer to home. And Steve Ballmer, who has his $2 billion organization that he bought and a $2 billion stadium or arena that he's about to
jump change, baby.
Exactly. For him, it's jump change. And I think Kawhi thinks himself because of himself as a leader, but I don't know if the rest of the league follows him. I think part of Kawhi's mystique is that he's been able to win championships, but I don't think people kind of break down the layers as to the reason why. He won those championships in San Antonio, and he was able to shine in San Antonio because of guys like Greg Popovich and Tony Parker and Tim Duncan. And then he won that championship in Toronto because of the ball that bounced 17 times and ended up going in. And so, like, and he's not vocal. And so, like, at least with LeBron, when his teams are not doing well, you know where he's coming from. And I don't know if the guy as a leader in the locker room, because obviously I've never been in his locker room. But I think that he needs these conditional things to line up in order for him to succeed. And I don't know if him being the leader is that place for him to succeed. His asking price right now, I think, is like 4 years, $180 million. If I'm an owner of a team, I don't cut that check. Not for that. Not for him to be the leader of your team. Now, if you can make a move in your Miami, and you're Pat Riley, and you can make that move in your Miami, and you have Jimmy Butler to be that guy, to be that Tony Parker, to be the guy that's kind of the stabilizing force, then, yeah, now I see it. Like, it can work out. But, I mean, like I said, Kawhi, to me, Kawhi is the ultimate NBA mercenary. Like, he's the hired gun, and he's good at doing his job. But if you want him to lead a locker room like all the greats that have ever done it, like Jordan, like Bird, like Magic, he's not that. So don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole. He's just not that guy.
We are talking to the voice of Alabama TV and sports, Overtime, Gerard. Gerard, you talk about the Knicks, and I know a lot of Knicks fans are waiting for this offseason. They have the most money this offseason. They have the most trade pieces besides OKC with the 17 first-round draft picks in the next 7 years that they've built up off the trading away pieces. They did add Kemba Walker and give up a couple of them to the Boston Celtics, which I thought that was a very good move by the Boston Celtics, by the way. But the New York Knicks have a chance. They were a 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. We've heard Damian Lillard's name get brought up. We heard Bradley Beal, who is knocked out of the Olympics. He's not going to be going to the Olympics now. And now you're hearing stories about Sexton from the Cleveland Cavaliers. And now Kawhi Leonard, if he becomes available, does the Knicks make the run? If Kawhi Leonard sits out for the whole season, if you can somehow pull Kawhi Leonard to the New York Knicks, if you say, listen, Kawhi, right now, whoever you want, we'll make a trade for whoever you want. We still have Julius Randle there. We still have RJ Barrett there. We have enough pieces to win when you get back and you're healthy. Do the Knicks make that move for Kawhi Leonard?
I think the Knicks should be buyers in this case, and I think because Kawhi is such a good defender, he fits right into what Coach Tibbs wants to do. Coach Tibbs wants to defend, and he'll grind you out. The thing about Tibbs, though, is Tibbs likes guys that can grind for 60, 70, 80 games. How much does Kawhi want to load manage? How much does his team want to make sure that he's fine?
Right.
That I don't know, because that was the rub in San Antonio, and he just stopped trusting the doctors, and he went with his own guys. And as far as a basketball fit, it's almost perfect for New York to make that move. And I do think New York is a piece away from kind of taking that next step. We saw throughout the course of the regular season. They definitely showed up in the playoffs. They just didn't have that guy that can go to, hey, we need a bucket now. Who can get it now? Julius Randle, God love him. He was great. Had an MVP-esque season for a regular season. He just wasn't that guy in the playoffs. And I don't think that you can count on him moving forward. But you can count on a guy like Kawhi. And so I do think that there is room for Kawhi to actually be a huge part of that team. Does he fit into the culture? And this is the same thing these are the same conversations that when there were talks, there were rumors, I don't know how true they were, about James Harden in Miami. Does he fit with the culture? Because we all know James Harden. He likes his gentlemen's clubs. He likes his parties.
We too.
Exactly. And who doesn't? You're a guy of his age. But the thing is, like, the questions about that was, can he fit into the culture? Fair or unfair, that was the question. I think the same thing happens with Kawhi in New York. Does he fit into what Tibbs wants to do from a cultural standpoint? And when you're seeing RJ Barrett play 72 games, and then here's a Tuesday night in January, and the Knicks are playing the Nets, and your main star is off the court because he's load managing. Like, there's a part of that road that I just don't know how well it fits in New York, if they can massage it well enough. And obviously you guys know that landscape more than I do. If they can massage it well enough, then
Speedy knows how to massage things, right, Speedy?
Now, DeShaun Watson might, though.
Well, in a bad way, probably, not in a good way.
I didn't say good or bad. I just said he knows.
Sorry,
Gerard.
But yeah, like if they can massage his personality into what they do, then I think that they'll be fine there in New York. They'll get the guy that they need as far as the score goes. To me, the perfect place still kind of seems like a Miami or a Dallas. And I think Dallas will be interesting because I don't know if Kristaps and Luka work as a pair, but I think if you add somebody like Kawhi, it'll be a weird, dysfunctional kind of odd threesome kind of team. But I think from a skill set,
do they have the money? I don't think they do. I don't think they have the money.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is like they'll have to work out the contracts.
I don't think they're going to have the money for Kawhi Leonard. That would be great.
Yeah,
you get Kawhi to play Luka, and I mean they're a championship competitive team right there. I just don't know if they have the money.
And I don't know if you can trade Kristaps' deal because it's not a great contract. It's not terrible. It's not great, but it's just one of those deals where I do like the fact whenever I think of trades, I always think, how do these two players work on the court? Kawhi and Luka. I love that. And I think as far as like that being your Batman and Robin, or kind of Batman and Superman, however you want to, do the, the superhero metaphors on that. But the thing is that Kawhi he's just weird. He's just a weird dude. So like there's these
Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, he's getting beaten up in his hometown in a bar. He's jumping off boats. When he gets his ACL, gets his ACL fixed. I mean, the guy's a moron, okay? And he's sleeping with supermodels that want nothing to do with him. So, I mean, Kristaps Porzingis, a guy that nobody wanted, and he finally comes to New York. He wanted to come to New York. Then he somehow gets himself pushed out to go and play with his boy Luka Doncic, and they hate each other, and they don't even get along. So we all know who the problem is Kristaps Porzingis.
That's the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing because I think, out of all the European players that have come out post Dirk, he was the one I thought would work. Like he was the guy that I was like, this is a guy that can defend. He's big. He's got the skill set. He can shoot. And it seemed there was about a moment in time there in New York. I was like, oh, this is going to work. You put some pieces around him. He is what Luka's doing right now. And it just never really panned out. But like you said, I mean, like he might have just really gotten to the lifestyle, and New York is not an easy place. I'm in my mid-30s. It's not an easy place for guys that are of.
Trust me, I've been living here my whole life.
Right.
And I've been all over the world.
There's a few of these cities in America, like whether it's New York, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Miami. Like there's a few of these cities where it's just not easy to be a famous person. And maybe he
just ask Frank Sinatra. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Exactly. And I think that he could make it as a basketball player, but he couldn't make it as an overall person. And that's what hurt him there. And then he took those problems to Dallas. And Luka is a basketball-focused guy, and they just couldn't ever get those two things to mesh.
We are talking to the face of the show, Overtime in Alabama, Gerard. Obviously, everybody knows Mark Everett Kelly, his partner in crime every Wednesday. He has got an unbelievable sports show. Talks about Alabama sports, obviously all the professional sports from the NFL, the NBA, and obviously the MLB, and maybe a little hockey because obviously Mark is an Islander fan, and there was a lot to talk about with that. Yeah, I know you're a little bit of a hockey fan as well. So what are your thoughts with the Bucks tying this series 2-2? A lot of people thought Phoenix was going to completely pull away in this round and in this championship, being that Chris Paul has a chance to really, stamp his name as the greatest point guard or one of the greatest point guards to ever play. And then the Greek Freak is playing at an unbelievable level. He's doing everything, and he's not even 100% healthy. What are your thoughts with the Bucks? Are the Bucks now the favorites to come out of this championship game?
Your last statement was a poignant one because I did not think that we would see this at Giannis. Like he hyperextended his knee, and I thought we had kind of like a Willis McGahee situation going on where it's just you don't see where he can recover from this. Game 1, he has north of 25 points. In Game 2, he's got 40-something points. In Game 3, he's got 40-something points again. And they've just seemed to kind of be able to ride this wave. There was a point in Game 2 after they lost 2 games, and they what I look and listen for is post-game reaction after losses. And after they got down 2 games, the kind of ethos of the team just was not panic. It was, we've been here before, and they have, and they thought, hey, we can do this again. Phoenix has been good at the beginning of series, like the entire playoffs. And I think that I think we're getting to see their toughness put on a level that we hadn't seen it before. And we're just not used to the Bucks being this, because honestly, I think what happened is I'm a victim of this too. I thought the Bucks should be doing this 3 years ago. And when they didn't, I wrote them off. And I think a lot of people did as well. And then Giannis signs there again. We're like, okay, well, Giannis believes it. Like, is this going to work? Or is this going to be a Dirk situation where you just stay in the same city for forever, and then finally towards the end, maybe you kind of, jigsaw piece your puzzle into a championship? And it looks like Giannis was right. He rolled the dice and he made all his bets, put all his chips in on the right team to kind of give him the pieces. Drew Holiday has been fantastic.
He hasn't played well in this series.
Yeah, he hasn't played well in the series, but like I'm talking about, just they needed a playoff piece to kind of put him over the top. I think he's been a part of that. But the thing about the Bucks is, and I don't want to put this out in the universe where it actually does happen, but like I feel like the Chris Middleton 5 of 24 game is bound to happen at some point. He's had so many of these good games, and like we're just so used to you having that. What the hell did we just watch kind of games? And he just chucks up a bunch of shots. And honestly, it might not happen. Who knows? He might have found that groove where he's playing efficiently and playing well. But I still think Phoenix is the better team. I don't think they've been able to synergize the exact same way they have Game 1 and Game 2, because in the first 2 games, they were able to get great play out of Chris Paul and good play out of Devin Booker. And this is Booker's first finals. I'm not trying to be too hard on a young guy. And first finals on the road, post-pandemic,
this is Paul's first finals too.
Correct, exactly. But at least Paul's been in a lot of big games. Like, he's been in big games. Like, to me, I kind of extend an olive branch of I'll give you a pass if you don't play well to Booker in a way that I may not with Chris Paul, and I still am with Chris Paul. But and I think I read some crazy stat that like whoever wins this championship, all the members of the team will win their first ring, and it comes from such a good place because we've had so many LeBron and Steph, and the playoffs to me kind of became like a snooze fest. Like, okay, wake me up in 2 months when it's Chris Paul or Steph Curry versus LeBron James. It's kind of refreshing not to have that. But this particular playoff, I thought, okay, Phoenix is better. I honestly thought the Western Conference Championship or Western Conference Finals was going to determine the champion.
Right.
Now that's in doubt, and now we're best 2 of 3.
So this, you mentioned the parity in this NBA final, this NBA playoffs in general. We have a Suns Bucks finals. I don't think anyone expected that at the start of the playoffs. Definitely didn't expect that at the start of the season by any means.
Right.
Do you think with a lot of the injuries to the stars that, again, building your team on the stars, the star reliant, these super teams that we're seeing now, is going to still continue with the league being player run? We were talking about all these trades before that. But also, could you see like other teams try to match these formulas with the Suns and Bucks, what they were able to do, and maybe having that big star and also the depth pieces around it? Could that be more of the new wave, even over the big threes like you're seeing with the Nets and teams like that?
I think you're going to find like a approach where it is one or the other. Either you build through the draft or you try to build a super team. You're going to do what the Suns have done, or you're going to try to do what the Nets have done and just like stack stars instead of develop stars. I do think, to answer your specific question, I do think there is going to now be a more attractiveness for owners to be like, hey, let's get a general manager. And just like James Jones has done in Phoenix, let's get a general manager. Let's draft one guy, draft another guy. Let's develop those 2 guys. And those are our corner pieces. Those are our cornerstones. And then let's get another guy and another guy. And then if at the end we need a veteran to put us over the top, I don't care what his contract is. Chris Paul's contract was honestly really, really high, and Phoenix took a gamble, but it worked out. I don't know, though, if general managers have enough faith that their owners will keep them employed long enough to actually make that happen. I think that's the biggest thing. So if you have a general manager that is a fear-based general manager and he's just looking out for his job, he'll just try to build a super team like that. That way he wins 60 games and he at least keeps his job. If you have a guy like James Jones or just a guy that or an owner of a team that says, we will give you 5 years, and you have a smart general manager, then I think that is the case. It's different for small market teams as compared to big market teams. I do think a Phoenix has to operate a little bit differently than a New York. And I think that the smaller market you go, the more patience you have to have because you're not going to attract free agents.
Right.
You have to get these guys through trades. But the bigger the market, obviously the bigger the expectation. However, you can get a free agent to New York. You can get a free agent to Miami. You can get a free agent even to Atlanta, who kind of ascended this past year. And I think that these will be attractive places for free agents. But we are learning now how to build a team. It's the way kind of baseball builds their teams. You build through the draft, you develop, and then after that, you might need to add that veteran star to kind of put you over the top.
Speaking of when you talk about all these different teams, these big cities and stuff like that, and you were just naming some big cities. I think now with the NBA and any sports, it doesn't matter. Over the years, it was always New York, LA, one of these big cities. It's not like that anymore. All these teams are rich. All these owners are billionaires. It doesn't matter if it's in a small market. The Bucks are a small market. Giannis signs a $200 million contract with them. He stays with the Bucks. The Bucks are in the finals. So I don't think it really matters if any of the, wherever it is now. I mean, team players want to go to OKC, because they're going to get the most money over there. So it's different. Sports is different now. It's not about going to the big city. Who wants to go to New York when the pressure is on? Who wants to go to 76ers when the pressure is on? And you got to deal with the press over there. You know? So.
Right. And I agree with you. And social media opens up a lot of that too, because you can still sign big deals. And the world is just so much smaller now than it was before. I do think that there is a certain mystique, and you guys can probably speak to that more than I, that there's a certain mystique that comes with a New York or an LA and winning in those places. And
no, nobody wins over here in New York.
Hey, you guys had the Islanders. I know they're on the Long Island.
Yankees too, but I mean, New York is not a winning place to be when it comes to sports. It hasn't been. I mean, Boston is. I mean, Boston's a winning place.
Mainly Boston and the Bay Area.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, New York has just been a bust. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, and there's not. Teams are getting built. I mean, the Jets are getting built. The Giants are going to be better this year. The Islanders and Rangers look like they're up and coming. I mean, the Islanders are good, but I mean, the Mets look good. The Yankees look like crap. I mean, it's just with New York sports, it's a hit or miss. I mean, but when you go over there, even when you go to Alabama, you know that the Crimson Tide's going to be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know that certain places, those teams are going to be good no matter what. So it's different. But it's so funny that we're talking about this because I want to go to another sport, and I want to know your opinion with this. Everybody knows about Conor McGregor, and he came out today saying that the UFC knew that he had stress fractures in his tibia, and that they automatically still tried to push him to fight in his fight. He lost the fight. He broke his tibia and all that other stuff. What is your thoughts with Conor McGregor? Do you think he's a complete joke? Do you think that the UFC needs to move on from this guy? What are your thoughts to this whole MMA, UFC, Conor McGregor versus Poirier, and all the crap that he said after the fight, pointing to his head, telling him that he's going to kill Poirier and his wife? I mean, the guy's out of his friggin' mind.
Yeah. Conor, I think his best let me rewind for a second. Conor, to me, is a guy that is an above-average fighter, but he makes his fights way more above actually what he is as a quality of a fighter. He knows how to sell a freaking fight better than almost most fighters that I know as far as just overall.
Top 5 all time. Top 5 all time in any sport. Yep.
And in my opinion, he was kind of cut from the same cloth as Muhammad Ali. He's been able to kind of talk his way, grab attention, and then in the ring or in the octagon, be able to make you watch, make you stay invested, make you stay focused. Whether you loved him or hated him, he knew he operated in that space. And I think that Conor is so good at that. And to me, like, I think that we're starting to see so much talent now in the UFC that, like, we're starting to see Conor's mouth is here and his talent in the UFC is here, but the mouth still is able to kind of get eyeballs, get paid, and whatnot. And the UFC signed a huge deal with ESPN, a multi-billion-dollar deal, and they're trying to sell fights. They're trying to sell stars. And one of the stars that they need is a Conor McGregor. And Conor, he is very, very good at selling fights. And I'm not trying to take away from his MMA skills, but I think he's a great fighter. Take that back. He's a good fighter, very good fighter. But we're starting to see his skills get exposed a little bit more and more and more. And I think if the UFC paid fighters a little bit better, then Conor will actually probably be in a better spot. But he took that kind of sham fight with Floyd because he honestly, and I agree with him. Like, take the money. We live in a capitalist society. I'm all there for it. Take the money. If the market's there for you, the market's going to pay. Take the money. Mm-hmm. But we all kind of knew what that fight was, and he made more money in that fight than he has in the octagon. Mm-hmm. That should tell you everything that you need to know about Conor McGregor. He's a self-promoter. So to answer your specific question about should the UFC get off this guy, it's yes and no. Yes, get off of him if you have another Conor who's actually great. If you can have a Conor who's wrapped in Anderson Silva's body or Bones Jones' body.
I think they have one. His name is Sean O'Malley, and I think –
yes, and they need to market him better. Yeah.
Yes, they do. But he's in a bantamweight. He's 135. I think he needs to move up in weight. And Sean needs to show that he can fight in the bigger weights in the better divisions. Right. If he does that, he is absolutely a talker. He fits the mold, and he could definitely build around him because he's a great fighter. He's a young fighter, and he's an up-and-coming fighter. So, but I think it's limited because there's not many Conor McGregors out there. They're just not.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of what I respected about Conor, because I respect the place that Conor is in overall. Just he's kind of carved out this nice little space for himself as an above average fighter. He's a really, really good fighter, but a great promoter, and he's a great asset from a financial standpoint, getting eyeballs to the screen for that sport who needs it.
As you guys know, we are talking to Alabama TV host, sports, the voice, the face of sports in Alabama and the Crimson Tide over there, especially. Overtime, Garrard. Obviously, he works with Mark Everett Kelly. They love you, Garrard. The fans love you on this show.
Likewise.
We got one in the comments section, and Jeff that said, "This guy, the truth." So you definitely have a warm welcome for him. I actually want to go to one of Jeff's comments though, because it's very interesting. Alabama football just took on a transfer, a wide receiver today that never played football before. He actually played basketball at San Diego. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. You mean University of San Diego or just in San Diego? I'm not sure on that, but that's actually very interesting because you usually see the basketball players, sometimes they transfer to tight end. You saw Antonio Gates, we saw Jimmy Graham, like several different guys that have played tight end, but now this one is playing receiver, which is very interesting too. What do you think that ends up being? Product of versatility, product of the way the game is changing in college football with more spread offenses, or even in the NFL where we're seeing a lot enough spread offenses, college type offenses in the NFL now.
Exactly. Yeah. I do think there's a moment right now for wide receivers that we haven't seen in the sport in a very long, actually probably ever, because the game has grown from here out. So if you turn on any film from the 50s and 60s and 70s, football was played within maybe 30, 40 yards. They didn't play the whole 53 and a third. So now that we're playing the entire 53 and a third wide, we're now in a position where we are seeing the receivers being valued more. And I think more people are willing to take gambles on those guys. Alabama's kind of in a unique position because they have signed, of the last 3 years, they have signed the top receiving core in the country. If you just look at just pure receivers, where they're rated, say what you want to about recruiting services, but as far as just the recruiting services, what they say about the receivers, Bama's recruited the number one wide receiver group for the last 3 years. So there's no pressure on this guy to come in and just be a stud. He can go in and learn the tactics of wide receiving from a wide receiver coach, an offensive coordinator, and his fellow guys in that wide receiver room. So that's the reason why I think Bama's kind of in this kind of unique position to take a gamble on a guy. He might work and he might not work. It's the same thing that we see like when NFL guys take a rugby player or whatever. They just, if they're confident in their coaching staff, they're confident in the wide receiver room. Hey, who knows? You might just flip that switch, and you might find that a guy that is able to hit that next level. And I think he might be one of those guys. But the thing is that ever since Nick Saban, and few people know this story, ever since Saban got Julio Jones, and one of the things about Julio, when he talked about his recruiting visits to Alabama, he mentioned time and time again, the reason why he went to Alabama is that everybody else promised him he'll play first-year starter, freshman year, we'll get you to the all-SEC team, blah, 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 blah. Saban's like, we'll win with you. We will win without you. We will develop you to be the best player that you can be and try to take you as far as you can go, and you'll make as much money as you can in this game. And Julio really liked that honesty out of a head coach, and that's the reason why he ended up signing with Alabama. You can probably stack up a couple other reasons, but he was honest with him. He was like Saban was honest with him, and he was right. Like, we'll win with you and without you. And I think ever since Julio, the script on Bama changed, because the script on Bama before that was running school, defense school, and it still kind of is that. But the more we churn out, the more Bama churns out. I'm not gonna say we, because I didn't grow up a Bama fan, to be honest. I grew up an Auburn fan, which is a completely different story. But like the motif of Bama kind of changed. It's not necessarily wide receiver U. It's not known as such, but it kind of turned into that as far as the number one first round draft picks that they've ended up putting out into the league. And I think it started with Julio, and because that room now is so packed full of guys that are about to go to the next level, there's no pressure on any gamble that you take. Take a basketball player, take a baseball player, take any guy that you think has good hands and can run good routes, and he's precise, and he's got some kind of football knowledge. There's no problem taking him and then playing him 25 snaps a game. And you play him 25 snaps against Western Carolina, he might have 3, 4, 5 catches. He might show you something, and then you can depend on him later on, and then he might turn pro. Or he'll ride the bench the whole time, and he's a scholarship. So, like, at the end of the day, like, Bama's in this kind of unique position to kind of take these gambles on these guys.
Well, Belichick has done this. Saban has done this. It seems like the two friends love to take chances, and sometimes they hit. It's like playing the lottery with these guys. These guys are dead on. They know how to find talent. We have a caller, our third caller of the night, and he's a big fan of yours. Jeff, what's going on?
Gerard, I love you, man. It's great to see you back on the show. You are an absolute fucking legend.
I certainly appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you so much. I enjoyed my time here last time 1,000%, and I like this time even more. This has been fun, and this is like just to be able to talk ball and talk sports and do it in this kind of atmosphere, because I come from news and it's very structured and kind of like a very regimented, segmented thing. To be able to kind of talk freely here, it's been absolutely phenomenal. So likewise.
So I just want to disagree with you. Like, your points are spot on, and it's a point well made about, Julio Jones and Jalen Waddle and all the receivers that have gone through there.
Right.
But I just want to disagree to an extent right now, because all those guys were there, and now they've all left. The cupboard is empty this year, and that's why they're doing this. It hasn't even been announced they're taking on a kid named Chris Herron Jr. His dad played in the NBA for the Nuggets and the Celtics and things like that, and he played basketball at Boston College and transferred out to San Diego. And because there's nobody there, they took on a transfer from Ohio State, and they have John Mechie. But their second option right now is Slade Bolden, who, let's be honest, Gerard, he stinks.
Yeah, Slade Bolden kind of reminds me of like a poor man's version of Wes Welker. But like there's a guy, and I know people don't watch spring games, and I know that there's not to be a lot taken of spring games. So Jeff, don't say that the spring game is everything you need to see. There's this guy named Agiye Hall. I might be pronouncing his first name wrong. It's Agiyye, I think, but his last name is Hall. He's a true freshman. This guy will be the next Julio, Amari Cooper, whoever. Like, I agree with your overall point. Your overall point is good. They don't have Bama right now they're not sitting in this place where you have a guy like where you had Jalen Waddle go down, Devontae steps up. And even though all defenses know Devontae's getting the ball, he has an unbelievable year and wins the Heisman Trophy. They don't have that right now. They have a very talented room, but not a very experienced room. And it honestly might just be the nature of my proximity to this university and to this actual football team. But I've watched this kid since high school, and he just jumps off the screen in the exact same way some of these other guys do. And so you're right on the front end as far as they don't have the national brand name top end guys as of right now. So they have to take a few gambles. They have to take a few. They have to roll the dice a little bit. And maybe I'm overstacking the cupboard more so than it actually is, and that might just be a knowing what Saban has always done, and he always gets to be able to figure it out. The offense will be different though, because there's no Steve Sarkisian. So Sarkisian was he was so different as far as being able to draw up plays from different guys. However, I'm telling you, a guy Hall, is it a guy or Ajay Hall is going to be, by this time, we sit here July 15th, 2022, we'll be talking about him as far as one of the best receivers in the country. He's that good.
That's all well and good, but you're spending 2 and 3 minutes putting lipstick on a pig is what you're really doing, right? Because this is what you're doing. You're going from Waddle, right? Waddle and Smith, and then the year before it was Waddle, Smith, Judy, all these crazy guys. Just be honest. Your guys stink right now. Just at that position, you're still going to have dominant linemen, and Bryce Young is still a promising quarterback. But if you're throwing your money in on a freshman, that's ridiculous.
Right. No, honestly, your larger point is a good one. And I'm not taking away from the notion that Bama's covered overall from the wide receiver position isn't all the way there. But also Bama this year won't need their wide receivers as much. So this past year, it was a wide receiver dominant. That's where the production of your offense was going to come from the guys that catch the football. This year, it's not as much that way. You had Najee Harris, who was going to catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit, who was going to be your main ball carrier. Now you have a Brian Robinson. You have some guys that will take the pressure off of the quarterback, which is going, once again, another young guy. And with Bryce Young, I think that Bama's got this. Like I said, they're in a unique position where they're skilled around where they can just buy time. They'll buy time for the receivers to catch up. And but like I said, I think that one of the biggest parts of this is the new offensive coordinator. This part I don't know. Outside of a spring game, I have very, very little evidence about what they're going to do offensively, what they will try to hang their hat on. But this year's Bama team, I think, will look a little bit more like Bama teams from.
No one cares about the spring game. That's like talking about preseason football.
And that's the reason why I gave it that qualifier. I gave it that qualifier of you don't necessarily know. You don't necessarily know. But to me, in my opinion, will they be as dominant as last year? Heck no. They will not even be close to as dominant as they were a couple years ago. But am I worried about them overall from their position standpoints? Not necessarily.
Gerard, how long have you been watching Alabama football?
I'm 38 now, since I was 7 years old.
It's an easy question. Just tell me how long you've been watching Alabama football.
30 years.
When was the last time that you can remember in the 30 years of watching Alabama football that your best receiver was a kid that's never played a snap for Alabama? Because Mechie's all fine and good, and Slade Bolden, I guess, might be okay, probably not. But the best receiver on your team is the kid they're all excited about transferring in from Ohio State. So if that's the case, your best receiver is a dude that's never played for you. That's bad. That's not a good sign.
I'm talking about on the grand scheme of things, in the entire totality of the picture of Alabama's offense. No, it's not. It's not a great thing. And maybe I'm lumping in two arguments. I think you're going specifically on receiver, and I'm going more on the offense. As of the receiver aspect of it, just purely that position and what that position will bring from a production standpoint, you're 100% right. This will not be. In fact, I'm not gonna say in my entire 30 years, because there's some Shula and Dubois years, and there's been some rough times. But of the Saban era, it's not been as there has not been as a talented unit. It hasn't had as much talent, or sorry, as less talent as it does right now. Overall,
My concern for Alabama would be this, Gerard.
And
I still think they're going to be a very good football team, right? I still think they're going to be very good. They have Saban there. He sold his soul to the devil a long time ago. We get that, right? Like, we understand that. But my whole thing with Alabama is, with offenses scoring more points, LSU a few years ago, they were a juggernaut, right? Even Alabama last year, they put up points, right? My concern for Alabama would be because the wide receiving core is going to be thin and they're going to have to play more power football. I see them definitely losing 2 or 3 games this year because I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the score because they're not going to have the horses to run on the outside.
If they get down in games, that's where I agree with you. But I mean, look at their schedule. I mean, their schedule kind of works out because they get Florida on what's Florida going to be? I mean, they like Miami, which is what's Miami going to be like? Tennessee still struggling. LSU, I still don't believe in. So, like, honestly, I think the record might be where they, even if they do lose 2 games, I don't know what Auburn like. I think the entire SEC and the entire country caught Bama at a good time because this year, right now, Bama, I don't believe in wholeheartedly as I have before. I just believe that Saban can be able to get it done because they got a lot of defensive guys back and they got a good running game. They're replacing almost the entire offensive line, but they replace it with 5-star guys. Can they develop those guys? That's the question. And they always have had. And so maybe I'm extending them a credit that they probably shouldn't be extended until I see it on the field. But I mean, as of right now, and I'm not trying to be a homer for Alabama because, like I said, I didn't grow up a Bama fan. But like, I just
no, you're not. You're not being a homer. We respect you far more than Mark. but I do want to just want to slightly because you see by name, right? You went ahead and did it, and it makes me furious, right? Tennessee made an improvement in a very important area this year. They went and got Josh Heupel as their coach. Do you know where Josh Heupel was previously?
He was at UCF, right?
UCF.
Yeah, UCF.
What kind of offense do they run? They're going to be vastly improved because they're going to run a whole new system. That UCF system that he was running is proven to take down SEC teams like they did against Auburn in the Peach Bowl 3 years ago.
Right. And Tennessee's got to go to Tuscaloosa, and that's a place where it hasn't been great for Tennessee. I agree with you. I agree that Josh Heupel's going to he will turn that program around. But Heupel, in the same way to me, is like Brian Harsin in the sense that like it's first year guys. Yeah, we know they can do it, but can they do it on this level? There's a lot of guys that we thought can do it on this level. We'll see if he can. Good thing for Heupel, he's in the SEC East, and that's a really trash division. But
whoa! I put $1,000 on an SEC East team.
Who to win the SEC
national title, by the way.
Oh, hang on a second. Yes, if it's not Georgia or Florida, flush that money,
buddy. I didn't hear that last part. What was that?
If it's not Georgia or Florida, just consider that money gone.
He says if it's not Georgia or Florida, consider that money gone.
Errol, we had this discussion off there. Who did I bet
Georgia.
on, Errol?
Georgia.
Okay, yeah. No, you know what? Like, and honestly, I have a lot of faith in Georgia. Kirby Smart and JT Daniels. This would be a really good Georgia team. Losing George Pickens is going to hurt. The top right receiver. I expected him to be the what Devontae Smith was for Alabama last year. I expected him to be that. Obviously, he'll be out. But I'm telling you, I think
I'm taking Georgia by default because I'm looking at your Alabama Crimson Tide and thinking I can wipe my ass with them and throw them in the toilet later. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, like they're going to have a down year. I say 2 losses, possibly 3, which most schools would kill for. So I don't want. I realize people from Alabama take that as a slight. Oh my God, 2 losses. Like it's a good year for every other school, but
sure.
Alabama, yeah, it's a down year. So I'm taking Georgia because listen. Kirby Smart, terrific coach. They always play fantastic defense. Yeah. And I think you're forgetting the wild card. JT Daniels is going to be healthy and flinging the football for them.
Yes. And he'll be good once again. And Bama and Georgia will have they'll have their dance in Atlanta. And every year, whenever Georgia kind of to me has turned into an Auburn. And I hate to say this because I ever since I was 5 years old actually, turned into an Auburn fan because this lady at my mom's church She loved Auburn. She ingratiated me into the Auburn thing. But Auburn and Georgia have had this similar thing where you just every year that there's hope, every year that there's expectations and hope, they somehow find a way to crap the bed. And I'm not saying Georgia's going to do it. I'm not projecting that on Georgia now. On paper,
you're not wrong. Georgia is traditionally a choker, right? You're not wrong, but I'm looking around that division and saying probably a down year for Alabama.
Right.
Probably.
And how much of that do you take into coaching? Like how many in basketball, I like to do this comparison. For example, in basketball, I say a good coach off of inbounds plays and timeouts can steal maybe 6 to 8 to 10 points a game. They can steal that just drawing up a good baseline play, just drawing up a good play out of a timeout. They can steal that. To me, Nick Saban can steal you a game or two in the SEC.
Spoken like an absolute, complete, cocky Alabama fan, right? Here's the problem with this, right? You're forgetting Kirby Smart had Alabama beat in the SEC title game until they put Tua in. That was a Hail Mary pass for Saban to go, I guess we're going with the young kid because Jalen Hurts stinks.
To be fair, Tua did have a good second half. Like, it wasn't just that throw. That throw kind of capped it off. It was the exclamation point. But he had a good second half.
Right, but you're forgetting. But this is the thing. Kirby Smart has been the closest to any of the former Saban tree disciple people of beating him. And he had him in that game, and it was, how do you game plan for an unknown? No one knew what Tua Tagovailoa was going to do in that game. Right. And he had him beat. I think this is finally the year the dogs get over the hump.
Don't forget they did in reverse too, though, Jeff.
But otherwise, you're spot on, though, because they are, Georgia traditionally, Garage, you're correct. I mean, they're traditionally chokers.
Right.
They did in reverse, though, too, Jeff. Remember the SEC title game the next year, too. Tua struggled or got hurt. I forget. He got hurt, and then Jalen Hurts won the game the other way around.
And honestly, this Bulldogs team is just they're going to be really, really tough. And I think because of the down year for some of the other teams, I'm riding the Bulldogs this year.
And honestly, I can't fault you for that because I think Georgia does have the best team going in, and they're hungry. And also, I think that there's a tinge of, I don't know if he'd get fired, but there is a tinge of pressure, I think, on Kirby, and it's a healthy pressure. I think most coaches need this kind of pressure in order so they don't.
That's ridiculous that you think there's pressure on Kirby Smart. Do you know how long they stuck with Mark Richt? And he didn't deserve that job. If Mark Richt can last a decade, Kirby Smart is going to die on that sideline.
I think Mark Richt is the cautionary tale, and because of Mark Richt, that's why I think that there's a leash on Kirby Smart, because I think the Georgia fans understand. Oh God, we're going to get back in the situation. We were this close to a national championship. We need to get that guy. And like I said, there might not be any pressure. I'm not a booster at Georgia, so I don't know how much pressure there is, but they opened up with Clemson game 1. There'll be a lot to be said about that very first game. And I think we'll see a lot about those two teams game 1. And obviously game 1s don't tell everything about the story. But the thing is, I think there's a healthy pressure on Kirby that actually adds to your point about Georgia probably being a good team to bet on. Cross your fingers that JT stays healthy, and I think that Georgia can be that team. The thing is that I've seen Bama do it. I haven't seen Georgia do it. And maybe that's unfair. And maybe that is. And maybe your money is in a good place. You'll get a return on your investment on that bet. But as of right now, I just trust Saban to be able to pull that game out in Atlanta more than I trust Kirby to pull it out. And I might be wrong on it. And for your profit investment, I hope I am wrong on that because I have no dogs in that fight. But the thing is that you're right. Georgia, to me, is the most talented team in this league. If you just take player 1 to player 120, Georgia is the most talented team in this league.
And listen, they don't have the best coach in the SEC, but I don't think Kirby Smart is bad either, though. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a really great coach.
Well, yeah. Honestly, if you're ranking coaches, and this might be putting you on the spot, but like, where would you rank him? Obviously, I mean,
top 5.
I don't want to maybe like
in the country or the SEC
in the league.
In the conference,
right?
I have Kirby Smart either second or third, depending on where you want to put Dan Mullen.
Oh, Dan Mullen. Okay, what about Jimbo?
Dude, are you kidding?
Get
out of here.
I'm just asking. I don't know. Jimbo had to say like I guess
Jimbo Fisher. I mean Jimbo Fisher, right? Mm-hmm. Won a national title off of Bobby Bowden's reputation because he took over and won very quickly with Florida State. And then he very quickly ran that program into the ground and got on a plane and went to Texas A&M. And in Texas A&M, has he done anything? He has lots of good players on that team, and he can't do crap. If you think dude, I got Coach O ahead of.
I was asking your ranking because I think I'm more aligned with where you are. I think Saban's 1, Kirby's 2, and then maybe Jimbo 3 and Mullen 4. But to me, Jimbo's got to face a lot of different things because recruiting in Texas is not easy, and it's not going to be any easier now with these new NIL laws, where I think Texas will still be the bell cow in that state. But I think to me, Texas A&M
should be better than they are. They're the 3rd richest school in the country.
For sure. Yeah. And they have a ton, and they have a lot of backing for football. There's a lot of love there for the game.
But I mean, listen, it's hard to argue that Dan Mullen is a top 3. Clearly, Saban is 1, right? I think we can all agree on that, right? But how do you not have Dan Mullen in the top 3 when he's a dude that won at Mississippi State? Nobody can win at Mississippi State.
And produce an NFL quarterback, a few NFL quarterbacks. He's a great developer.
Stop it, Gerard. Don't get me started, Gerard. You will not be one of my favorite people anymore.
You still will always be one of mine. And honestly, we're picking the lint up the Versace suit. Like we're splitting very tiny hairs here. But to me, the gap between how about this? I'll say this: the gap between Jimbo and Dan Mullen is not the gap that might between Nick Saban and whoever coaches at Kansas State. It's just those two worlds don't.
You're saying they're not far. They're not far apart.
Correct.
Well, I don't know what he's watching. He ran Florida State into the ground. How does that not count against him?
Oh, you're talking about Jimbo. Jimbo running Florida State into the ground. Mm-hmm. Or we're talking about Jimbo being X's and O's guy. To me, Jimbo as an X's and O's. Jimbo as a recruiter and X's and O's. I can't ignore it either at Florida State. I can't ignore the fact that he won a national championship. I can't ignore the fact that he recruited.
I am a Florida State fan, and I was so happy when Jimbo Fisher decided to part ways with Florida State.
And there was a lot of personal stuff there, stuff that I know kind of personally that was going on in his life. I think he just needed to get out of the state of Florida.
He knew that Florida State football was completely torn apart because of him. His recruitment classes were garbage. Jameis Winston, who, by the way, I knew was going to be a dud in the NFL, they haven't found a quarterback since him. Florida State, he completely ruined Florida State. Completely.
Yeah, Florida State was a top 5,
juggernaut. It was a juggernaut.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Under Bobby, it was insane. And to Jeff's point, I do think that Jimbo rode that last wave of that last part of the Bobby Bowden wave over there. But he did create some of the energy to help that last wave get in. Now, can he do it with the exact same, as you mentioned, ridiculous resources at Texas A&M? I think he might be able to. And Dan Mullen was able to win too, but at the end of the day, you still have Nick Saban to go through, and Fisher's got a harder block because he's in the same division. And Mullen, we'll see what he can do. I mean, he made Dak Prescott all SEC, so we'll find out.
Before we let you go, I want to know your opinion with the NFL. OTAs are about to start there. It's about 2 weeks away. Preseason's the season starts in less than 4 weeks?
Right.
It's crazy. You're going to have in September, you're going to have the season start. So what are your winners and losers this offseason? And who do you think is going to surprise people in the NFC this year? And who do you think they're going to lay up a lousy goose egg that made the playoffs in the NFC and AFC as well? So with winners and losers, who do you think is going to surprise you in the AFC and NFC going to the playoffs this year? And who do you think are going to lay the lousy goose eggs in both leagues as well?
One of the biggest things is I think that Cleveland really took a good team and kind of put them over the top. Now can their coaching and can Baker? That's the biggest two things. Can they put Cleveland over the top? I don't believe it. I do believe they'll win that division and or come second. And even if they're second, they're going to be a good wild card team. If Baltimore ends up winning the league, winning their division, I think Cleveland will be a very, very good wild card team. I think as far as off the field goes, they've really improved their team. Miami has really improved their team, but Miami, just like Cleveland, has to kind of deal with a juggernaut within their division. To me, Miami's improved their team a lot, but Buffalo is still that top team that's going to be the team I think wins the division. Who knows with the New England Patriots? I grew up a Patriots fan. We talked about that the last time that I was on. I love New England, and with my proximity to Alabama, I'm kind of a little bit more interested now because you got Cam over there as the pursued number one. You got Mac Jones as the pursued backup, and who knows how that can flip given Cam's injury history.
Jeff almost had a heart attack when Mac Jones was drafted by the Patriots, by the way. He almost fell off a bridge. But I kind of brought him back to life because I think Mac Jones is going to be really, really good with the Patriots.
No. That didn't bring me back to life. Mac Jones is absolute. No. Mac Jones is absolute dog shit. The thing that is saving Mac Jones, right? The very thing that is saving Mac Jones is Bill Belichick. He made a dude that was a high school quarterback get $20 million a season in Matt Castle, right? So Belichick will put that pile of dog shit in good positions to succeed.
I will say this because just from a work perspective, I had to listen to a whole bunch of Mac Jones press conferences, and largely press conferences, especially in the pandemic era, was what we're doing right now. It's over Zoom, it's over Skype, it's over video conference and whatnot. So you don't get to necessarily know the player. That dude, I don't know if he can perform it, but that dude knows it. He breaks down every freaking thing. Like as far as football smarts go, he's up there. If he can actually do it, I got to see it with my own eyes.
You want a smart football player? Go to Duke. Okay, fine. Just go to Stanford. Go to Duke. Have your smart football players.
Well, don't say that. Richard Sherman was very smart, and look what he did.
Hey, listen, man. I don't want to hear nothing about Richard Sherman because he was drinking Hennessy. Garrard, tell him what the Hennessy does to you.
Woo! It does what has him in jail right now, waiting for a judge tomorrow.
Oh, he's out. The judge let him go.
You did get him getting out? Okay.
Yeah, he got out today.
I didn't see the news on that.
4 misdemeanors, no felonies. He'll be off that before you know it.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's the bigger point. Mac Jones was behind Tua Tagovailoa, and Jones was older, right? More years experience in the school, and he couldn't even beat out Tua, and Tua can't play NFL football. He absolutely stinks. That's how I know Mac Jones is dog shit. His redeeming quality is that he's going to play for a coach that's going to make him succeed.
100%.
He did it with Jacoby Brissett. He did it with Jimmy Garoppolo. He did it with Matt Castle. He did it with that dude. Did you see what Tom Brady looked like when they drafted him in the 6th round? Are you kidding me? Speedy has a better body than Tom Brady did when they drafted him out of Michigan.
Oh God, you're right, and Belichick knows how to do that. And I think that with all what they've done in the free agency period, and with all what they've done, just kind of around the team, I think that they'll give him a year. There's a lot of reports out of there, and you can just kind of trust us with a grain of salt about how him and McDaniels are kind of clicking, and that's kind of the same language that you heard about Brady and learning the offense and whatnot. But to go back to your bigger point, Errol, about just the AFC, NFC in general, I still think this is a Chiefs league in the AFC, and they only fortified their offensive line, and I think Mahomes is going to come back with a fury and come back with a passion, and they still have the best tight end of the game. They still have, they still have a really, really productive running back situation. They still got one of the best receivers. The defense has made strides ever since that year that they just were constantly giving up.
Yeah, their defense has made strides. You know what strides they made? A gun store because they're driving around with Uzis.
I was going to say, yeah, not Frank Clark. Frank Clark's only made strides with guns that you get from the freaking the Israeli army, like just stuff like that. But like it's just like there's a sense to me that Kansas City can probably score 35 a game. Can you score 35 a game? And there's not many teams in the AFC that I can see doing that consistently. I
think there's a problem. There's a problem with that thought, though, Garrard, right? Because I just want to put this out in the ether. I'm not casting any judgment upon anyone or trying to bring up any bad subjects, right? Yeah. The laws in California are similar to the laws in Manhattan regarding guns.
Right.
And Plaxico had no choice. He had to go because of the way the laws were.
Right.
And they're very similar in California. If the charge against Frank Clark is true,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that it is, right? Because I trust nobody.
Right.
If that charge is true, he's not playing football for 3 years. He's got an automatic weapon, and he's got to do a mandatory sentence.
Right. And that's a huge piece.
Defense will not be getting better without Frank Clark.
A huge piece. And like I said, like I really don't know how much with quarterbacks, with receivers and whatnot, you can put a direct leverage on the scoreboard about what they are to the game. You take Patrick Mahomes out of the game, you could take 2 touchdowns off the board. I don't know how much Frank Clark actually helps or hurts, but your overall point is a big one. That's a huge blow to a good team that needs a good defense to separate themselves from everybody else. I think the big question in the AFC is, hey, does Denver make a move for Aaron Rodgers? If they do, that division gets really, really, really freaking interesting. Does Justin Herbert take that next step? Have they done enough around him from a coaching perspective? Obviously, they have a new coach. From an offensive perspective, have they done enough around Herbert to make him kind of take that next step? And do you believe in the Chargers? But yeah, to me, like the AFC is still it's still a one.
You don't think the AFC is more talented than the NFC this year?
Player for player, yeah.
I think they're better teams in the AFC this year than they are in the NFC. I think they're predominantly only 4 teams that could win in the NFC this year, and in the AFC, I mean, it's all over the place. You're talking about 7-8 teams that could win and come out of the AFC this year. It's crazy.
There's only 2 teams can win the AFC. There's only 2 teams. Either the Chiefs or the Patriots. They built a bomb squad.
The Patriots, the Chiefs. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Broncos, you got the Broncos. You got Baltimore. You got Baltimore.
Buffalo,
Cleveland, Buffalo.
Don't forget about the Browns.
I mean,
I don't trust any team whose best wide receiver is Dez Bryant. Get out of here with Baltimore.
Jeff, ladies and gentlemen.
By the way, Jeff, did Frank Clark go to the Josh Brent driving school?
Oh, dude, I might rename my fantasy football team the Little Uzi Hurt.
Good one. That's a good one. Take it.
You know what I'm saying? That's his new rap name, Little Uzi Hurt.
He'll be dealing with Bubba over there when he goes to jail. He'll show him his Uzi.
I gotta be honest with you, right? You'd be right on par if you had said like Mahomes with his little furry haircut and stuff. Dude, I don't think anyone's gonna mess with Frank Clark in jail.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm right there with you. In the AFC, earlier you kind of mentioned it. Like it's kind of just it's very small teams that can actually win it, or small amount of teams. Obviously, I grew up a Patriots fan. Love Tom Brady. Saw what Brady did last year. But the fact that there's a bunch of hype now on the Bucks, it makes me kind of turn away from them as the team to win it, because there's this weird kind of – remember the Lakers in 2004 when they had Gary Payton and Karl Malone and Shaq and Kobe, and it just was expected that they will win. To me, there's a bit of that with this Bucks team. That because last year's Bucks team, they got humbled. They lost 38-3 to the Saints. They lost twice to the Saints, both embarrassing. The last one being 38-3. Lost to the came close to the freaking Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had. There was the expectations were so low, they were able to grind their way to it, and they were able to win a championship.
It's hard to win back-to-back years.
It really is.
Hard to go back-to-back in the NFC.
Yeah,
too.
it's going to be
Seahawks
hard.
have done that.
They're not going to win because they didn't get better. They didn't improve anywhere. They re-signed everyone, which is great, but all they did was stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't improve at all. Other teams are going to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like the Patriots. The Patriots have
I know he wants to jump for Joe with the Patriots.
They signed a bomb squad. The boogeymen are back on defense. Who's going to score points on them? Who's going to score points? Not Patrick Mahomes, not the guy that can't throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Boogeyman.
Bubba's a huge Chiefs fan. He'll literally just lay it up to, hey, if we had our offensive lineman, we'd be good in that game.
The Boogeyman. I've never heard that before.
What are you talking about? The the boogeyman defense was born from the Sam Darnold game when he was like, I'm seeing ghosts. They started calling themselves the boogeyman.
Give me a break. I mean, Sam Darnold needs to get his head out of his ass.
That's how that name was born, though. That's really where it came from.
Jeff, shouldn't they be called the Paranormal Patriots then?
Oh, I like that even better. I like that even better.
Seriously, get you a company, start making T-shirts, put that on there, bro.
I like that.
Oh my God. Oh, well, maybe we should call the Ghostbusters. Oh man, Jeff, thank you for calling, bud.
Always a pleasure. Gerard, you are an absolute goddamn legend. Can I say that to someone who lives in the Bible Belt? Goddamn, is that like a thing? Was I being blasphemous? You're a goddamn legend. I don't care. You are just a gem of a human being.
And no offense taken whatsoever over here. I appreciate it all the time. And you are a goddamn legend. I appreciate you as well. And sincerely, I've loved both times I've been on this. And you, the fans, everybody's a big part of that. And this has been phenomenal. And I love the pushback. I love the pushback on Alabama. And I'm rooting for your Georgia bet.
Well, I was going to say it's good to see a level-headed, reasonable Alabama fan. This show doesn't normally book those people.
Poor Mark.
Well, Gerard, let me ask you a question. Just before this whole thing wraps up, right?
Yeah.
Who do you think has a better history putting quarterbacks into the NFL? The Ohio State University or Alabama?
Woo.
Just say they're both dog shit.
You know, that's the best answer. They are both dog shit. For being powerhouses, they're both dog shit.
Do you realize there was another guest on this show, Gerard? Do you realize there was a whole nother guest on this show that claims Mac Jones was going to be great because of the pedigree Alabama football had at putting quarterbacks into the next level?
I think I can go to who you're talking about. But I won't lie. So coming out of college, this might be one of the worst takes ever, and I've told very few people this, and I'll say it here on this show. So this will show that I have no room to project, and this is the reason I'm not a talent scout in the NFL. There was a time in my life when I graduated college, I thought that Greg McElroy was going to be an NFL quarterback.
I believe the equation Alabama fans use for that formula is called the Brody Croyle variant.
Yes.
Right? Oh, Brody Croyle is so great. And then you divide it by a Greg McElroy and it just explodes.
And Brody's actually from this area. Like he's literally like legit like 20, 30 miles down the road.
He hangs out the grocery store.
And like the football team, he's a AD, or his dad's the AD at a football team that's actually really good around here. But yeah, we've been kind of blinded to see what college football is as compared to the NFL. Not anymore.
What would you think of the statement? Matt Jones is going to be good because Alabama just pump successful quarterbacks into the NFL.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Really, like I mean, I get that sentiment, and I get that at every other position: a good corner, good safety, good linebacker, good offensive lineman, not a good quarterback.
Well, there you go, Jeff.
Listen. But it's things like that, Gerard, why I have such an affinity for you, because you're a level-headed Tide fan, and I can have an appreciation for someone that is passionate about the Tide and loves their team and is a great fan, but also, I don't know, you splash in a little reasonability.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. You honestly have to, and if you can't do that in this industry, then you're just not seeing things correctly. And nobody's a talent scout here. But you just can't let your eyes lie to you. You just have to watch what you're watching and then be able to evaluate it that way.
Right, but that was my whole point with the wide receivers this year too. You came into it and you were very hopeful. At the end of the day, you admitted they're dog shit.
And I admitted like the fact that I might be projecting. Some of that receiver stuff is just projecting what I've seen in the past. But you put in a good point. Hey, don't look at what they did in 2014 and 15 and 2010 and then say that's 2021. And I need to be corrected on that. And so we'll see September 1 or 4, whatever they play, and see how they do. But I'm just telling you.
What do you mean we'll have to see how what do they open the season against Citadel like they always do? Oh, that'll be close.
It's Miami. It's decent. It'll be a win, but it's decent.
Who do they open the season against?
Miami.
Oh, Miami in my. Oh man, yeah, that's still not. They're still going to beat up Miami. I don't care about De'Ara King. Screw him, midget.
Midgets. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, guys, always a pleasure. Gerard, go Dogs.
Hey, rooting for your bet. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in.
That's Jeff. We let Jeff call the show. I'll tell you this: when it comes to college football, one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to that. If I need information about a player or of that magnitude, he used to work for, what did he used to do for insurances for college players before they went into the NFL.
Oh, nice! So all those college insurance packages that you hear about before they go. He worked in that business,
and he was a professional golfer as well. So he was an athlete. So Jeff is a quality caller and definitely has an interesting personality.
He knows it. That and he knows his stuff as well. So it's not just
he does, and I give him a lot of credit. We go back and forth even off air when he does call me. And Jeff's been listening to this show since the beginning, and we really appreciate him calling and giving his crazy personality to all the fans to hear. Let me tell you. Anyways, Gerard, tell the fans how they can find you on social media, my friend.
Social media, Twitter, GERHARD, first name, and then it's K_M. And that's on Twitter, also on Instagram, Gerhard M9. We have our show up on WOTM.tv as well, and that's the show that Mark is honestly is a phenomenal contributor on. He's got a bunch of cool segments. We've done this little Who's Better segment here in the past few weeks, few months, and he does a great job kind of breaking down baseball player careers and just trying to show, which one is actually better.
Don't tell Jeff that about Mark. He's not a big fan. He loves you. He's not a big fan of Mark. I love Mark.
I gotta give him his credit. Like he does. Like he buries himself in the numbers. He understands the numbers. He understands what I appreciate about him is being in news. You have to learn like kind of topical stuff and just kind of learn a little bit about a lot and just be able to feed your average person who doesn't know anything about sports something about the game. What I love about Mark is kind of the sports fan guy of telling you the game within the game,
right?
And it kind of works as an encyclopedia there. So
he's speedy.
He's the far advanced version of me.
He's Speedy. That's what I say with Speedy. You need personality, and then you need a guy like Speedy.
Exactly.
That's. By the way, what is that spear behind you? What is that from?
Oh, actually, I got that when I was in Kenya. I worked at a camp in Kenya, and that was actually one of the things. It's actually not a real spear, like the old school Africans would go hunt and whatnot with, but it's actually one of the ones that you can makeshift and it breaks down.
Right.
And so I've always had a love for that spear. I've always had a love for
it's beautiful,
Italy and whatnot. So yeah, I put it up there. So it's between it sits right on top of my Leaning Tower of Pisa and a nice little sunset shot over here. So.
Well, Gerard, I would love to get you on very, very soon again. When Mark says we were going to get you on again, you are some personality, man. And you're so knowledgeable and you just have so many good takes. And we really appreciate you joining us and even staying on for as long as you have and giving us the time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is honestly just I love this forum. I love what you guys do. I love that you guys stand for. I was actually watching you guys about 45 minutes before I logged on to the call and just kind of, watching how the show goes. And there's a great respect, a mutual respect.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm the same for me. I think you're wonderful. Definitely a star and a star in the making. And Alabama has two very special guys that have a great TV show. And again, I really appreciate you joining us and giving us the takes that you have. And maybe we take some of these takes and maybe we get you on the show tomorrow for 103.9 FM to kind of give you takes on a little bit of NFL football and stuff like that. So we'll talk. We'll definitely talk.
For sure. You guys have my number. Let me know anytime and we'll work out schedules the way we need to. But listen, you guys do a great job and I'm happy to come on anytime.
Thank you.
Well, we have the number one show on 103.9.
Love it.
Yeah, and it's doing so well out here in Long Island, so we're very excited about it.
I'm not surprised at all. You guys do great work.
Thank you so much, Gerard. We really appreciate it. Gerard, ladies and gentlemen, from the show Overtime, Alabama, man. I love it. I'm not an Alabama fan, but I'm a Florida State fan. But Gerard gives you some takes that gives you the inside of what's going on with Alabama football and what he thinks what's going on with the NBA, and it really just I'm just very impressed with the guy. First of all, I call him a kid because I'm older than him. I'm 39, so he's younger than me, so I'm the elder between both of us. But to me, I just think he's wonderful. He gives us the best takes. All the analysts that we interview on this show. Gerard, really a fan favorite, by the way. Everybody loves him, and he just gives us the best takes. I love it, and I really appreciate him joining us. Well, that's it for our show. Guys, remember, our show is Wednesdays and Thursday nights at 9 p.m. We are live, the Sports Loudmouths. Next week, we'll finally have Josh back, and hopefully he'll be consistent on this show, Mr. McGilla, who's all over the place. I've never met a guy, ladies and gentlemen, that goes on more tours all over the country, and has so many excuses. Meanwhile, when I decided to part ways with Eric Coleman, he told me, well, Eric wasn't there. He wasn't consistent. Well, by the way, my partner in crime is not even as much as consistent as Eric Coleman was when he was on the show. So hopefully we get a full, a full end, because I'm tired a little bit, but a full, what do we call it? A full arsenal of Josh Silverberg, aka Mr. Adam Sandler Jr. But because he's been horrible when it comes to being here and being consistent on the show. But our show is doing so very well. We broke 600,000 downloads on Apple Podcast. We're very excited. Hopefully we break 1 million this year, which is something what I've wanted to. When we started Apple Podcast last year in November, I said, if we can, I don't know, we're doing so well right now. We're going to be in the top 100 very, very soon of all, as far as shows are concerned, throughout the country on Apple Podcasts. So we're very excited for what we're doing right now, and the growth of what we're doing and the talent that we have for the whole network. And we're moving forward, and I'm very excited about that. And that's a lot to do with all the people being dedicated and putting the time and energy into the product that we have. And it's amazing. It really is. And I really appreciate everybody that tunes in, listens to us, and laughs and hates us and loves us. It's definitely interesting. I always tell Speedy, I love it when people hate me. So on YouTube, I get these crazy messages on some of the takes that I have, and I say, you know what? I can't wait until I put out something that somebody just wants to tell me that they want to kill me, because I love it. I just love when people hate me. So anyways, that's just me. Anyways, we'll be back next week on Wednesday. Listen to the Weekend Crunch. If you don't live here in Long Island and you get the FM dial here in Long Island, which is 71 miles from Long Island to Montauk, Suffolk County, or Nassau, I think Levittown to Montauk, you can go and download the iHeartRadio app, and we're on iHeartRadio on the LI News Radio every Saturday at 7 p.m. It's a great show, a lot of arguing, very, very funny, debating. We give you the best topics in sports entertainment, so we're very excited on the show and the growth of the show. We've went from a new show 6 months ago to the number one show on a political station, the number one political station here in New York. We have the number one show. We only have one show a week, so it's fantastic, and we really appreciate all the fans and everybody that supports what we do here in Long Island, New York, which is one of the hardest places when it comes to press and radio. So we love it, and we really appreciate everybody. Again, we'll be back next week. Josh will be back. Speedy. We're all saying good night. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you to all the fans that called us today. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.